If you've ever been excited to wipe the slate clean and start the year fresh, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and you're in luck because today is January 2nd, 2025. It is the first trading day of 2025. All of our P&Ls are reset to zero for the year. Let's make it a good one. We're going to go ahead and break down all of the stuff that's going on. It's a new year. I'm happy to see all of you folks. Let's get, oh, I can't find the new preview. Oh no, here we go. Let's roll. Good morning, folks. I know I just played you an opener for Market Edge, but starting in 2025, the show here at Benzinga's YouTube will be called the Pre-Market Playbook. We're going to be getting you ready, not only for the open and the trading day, but then we're going to do some live trading with you like you folks are used to. So happy new year. Welcome to 2025. I welcome everyone that came over from 2024 and anyone new that's joining us here in 2025. Welcome. Really excited for this year. There's always a bit of a kind of excitement with a fresh year, especially when you're involved in the financial markets, because as I said, the slate is wiped clean. And on top of that, we're starting with green arrows across the board in 2025. S&P futures up 0.8 right now. Dow futures up 0.7, and the NASDAQ up a full percent here. Green arrows across the board here in 2025. Now, one of the first things that I want to see, does the first 5 minutes lead to the green first 5 minutes lead to a green first day, which leads to a green January, which leads to a green 2025. If we get that type of transitive action here, I think that would be really good for the year. But we'll see how it shakes out. Great to see a whole bunch of people. We're going to start our year off with white chocolate mocha. That's how you know we're going to win. Good morning, boss. Drew, River, welcome back. John, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Welcome back. Paul, it's good to see you, man. Happy 2025. Mark, Lion, Sun-Kissed Yogi, Data Raider. I think I'm getting that right. Good morning. Happy New Year's. Bernard, welcome back. Hustle and Bustle. Sergeant Sexy, checking in for his shift here today. Hugh, good morning. Strong Winds. Good morning. Chuck, it's great to see you again. Welcome. I hope you're ready for a prosperous 2025, Chuck. That's what we got lined up here. Sideshow, welcome back. Mino, welcome back. Neville, welcome back. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. That is not true. Good morning and Happy New Year. Happy New Year. It is true. Good morning to you. Okay, let's go ahead and dive right in. I should have my screen shared. I know the calendar turned over, but I wasn't born yesterday. Anyway, let's take a look here at the SPY. We actually have, we're starting right where we left off from 2024 with the same key levels that we were looking at the end of 2024. So as I had mentioned, green arrows across the board here in the futures market, which is great. We'll see if that holds. I don't necessarily think we should chase. We should see if it holds. We should be tactical and we should be prudent about the trades that we make here. But looking at the SPY here, we're just shy of that 50-day moving average. That 50-day moving average at 592.92, so just about 593. And we're currently at 591 right now. So that is definitely going to be the upside level here. We'll see if we can take that out. Of course, the 582.30 level is still sitting below where we were. But before we get there, we would actually need to breach this little low here, about 585 and change thereabouts. The last two sessions of the year really kind of held at that 585 level. So we'll see here. We kind of want to hold that, but I would say 582.30 going to be another level beneath that. And then beneath that is going to be the 100-day at 578.40. I don't think we get there today. Something really crazy would have to happen for us to get there today. So these are kind of the levels. I do want to see a close above the 50. I think if we close above the 50, that sets up for a close above the 20, which is the magenta, fuchsia, whatever color you like there, that next level above. And then if we can take out these recent highs that were put in on December 26th, the day after Christmas, maybe we can move back up towards the trend line. The other thing to note is that we really haven't had much in the line of a Santa rally this year. Remember, the Santa rally is the first 2 trading days of the new year. Today is going to be day 1 of that. So we'll see if we get a little green on the screen here today and salvage this Santa rally. Maybe he gives the gains on his final leg out of town. We shall see. Okay. Let's go ahead and dive into some individual stocks. And of course, we're going to start off. We're going to get the bad news out of the way early here before we focus on a new year and all of the really new stuff here. Had a couple of terrorist attacks to open. Oops, let me undo that. Oops. No. Had a couple of terrorist attacks to open the 2025, unfortunately. First one is obviously going to be the one in New Orleans, which postponed the Sugar Bowl, which is going to be played later today. And then we also, that was in the wee hours of New Year's Day. Hours later in Las Vegas, we actually had a Cybertruck explode. Now, this didn't really have an effect on Tesla's stock, and we're going to talk about that here in a sec, but just so you know what's going on here, Elon Musk had mentioned that fireworks or an explosive device caused a fatal Cybertruck incident in the Las Vegas Trump Hotel. The vehicle was rented through the same app as the truck that was used in the attack in New Orleans. So they're looking for connections there. I'm certainly not going to jump to any conclusions. I'm going to wait for the authorities to do their investigation there. But just so you know what's going on, these 2 things are out there, and there is some credible stuff that kind of, or maybe draws potential links between these 2. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because I this is definitely something we're going to want to keep an eye on here. Again, I had mentioned that this really hasn't affected Tesla's stock yet, but we'll see if that does kind of proliferate and maybe affect other stocks. Obviously, the biggest part of this whole thing is the tragic loss of life. We're really hoping that we can do better here in 2025. We're not off to a great start, but let's not give up yet. Let's keep sending positive vibes out there. Really, really terrible stuff. So that's kind of what's going on here. That's really the bad news of the day. The other thing to keep in mind here is that we are actually expecting Tesla delivery numbers here today. That might impact, or I shouldn't say that might, that's likely to impact the stock more than these terrible, tragic events. So we'll wait for the Tesla delivery numbers. We'll see how Tesla responds here. If you're looking at the daily chart here, we did lose that 20. We're actually holding above a fib level that I kind of have here at about 391. We're still hanging on to 400. Tesla was a little bit higher here this morning, has come in a little bit. So we'll see what we get from those delivery numbers. But that's what's going on here with Tesla. Okay, next. It would not be a year in the stock market if we didn't have some type of, kind of crazy, wild story here. And GME certainly is no stranger to those types of stories. We had some more speculation yesterday. GME, Roaring Kitty, Keith Gill, sparks speculation with a Rick James themed post on X. Now, for those astute observers that went to college around the same time that I did, you understand that this is actually Dave Chappelle imitating Rick James. This is the most viral clip from the Chappelle Show of all time. The Charlie Murphy, Rick James skit. Oh my God. If you haven't seen that, all the news aside, it's worth for you YouTubing just that skit and watching it because it is so damn funny. But anyway, he tweeted that little gif of Dave Chappelle acting like Rick James and saying, "Come to me, come to me, come to me." And it's very kind of cryptic. Now, we've talked about this when he's released some of these other cryptic posts in the past. I didn't really pay a lot of attention to this. I was watching football yesterday. I was hanging out. I didn't really care, right? I don't really care. I do want to see what happens here, but I don't really have any gut feeling on what's going on here. GameStop shares are in focus. Chewy shares are in focus. And Unity, ticker U, ended up popping. let's see. We were, yeah, okay. So we're actually up a little bit more. This had popped 12% earlier. Looks like now we're up about 13.3% here. And you can see on the daily chart that this actually popped us above the 20. Now, we do expect to find some resistance right up here at about 28, maybe a little bit higher than $28. We have that 500-day moving average value at 28.17. If you take a zoomed out look at Unity, you can see this really kind of had a tough year in 2024. This has really been consolidating lower here since 2022. And it does look like we've kind of moved off the bottom here. You could even, if you want to draw kind of a janky inverse head and shoulders, which has now been resolved. In any case, it does look like this is trying to curl. It does look like maybe this is trying to kind of hang in there and turn this trend around. So this definitely be something to watch. I don't know what the connection is or might be to GameStop. I certainly have no idea what Keith Gill is trying to do or what these tweets mean. Now, what I will say is that I love how deep you folks dig into this stuff. So I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts, speculation, rumors, ideas, whatever it is, whatever you think this is. I definitely love to hear about that. It does entertain. Every time we get one of these tweets, it entertains me what you guys are able to find out from digging. All you internet sleuths out there do some real good work. So we'll see here. This is what's going on. Keith Gill, again, right back at it, tweeting kind of cryptic memes, and that's our cryptic posts here, and that's moving some of these stocks. So as far as how we're actually going to set up and play this, to me, it seems just have that list of stocks ready. It looks like Unity's being added to it. If we can draw any parallels here, that's great. But if not, we'll just look at the same offenders there. I guess it would be worth taking a look at Chewy here. Chewy up 1.3% here in the pre-market. I will say I do really like Chewy's chart. I love that this is really kind of turned around and come off the teens. I use this product all of the time, so my bias is definitely positive towards Chewy. Looks like we might be setting up for a 36 breakout if we can take out that recent double top. Current price here is about $34. So we'll see here on Chewy. We'll see what this does, and we'll see if GameStop moves. GameStop, of all of these, I think not really doing a whole lot of movement. Up 2% here in the pre-market. I guess maybe if this can break the top off here, this could really get going. We'll see on GameStop. Like I said, I want to hear what you folks think about this whole thing. No trades for me yet. We'll see if this is good enough here to get a trade set up for today. But that's what's going on here. GME and Unity with the Roaring Kitty tweet. Okay, next we have an article here on SPY that I briefly wanted to touch about. This is more of like the outlook here. The S&P 500 scaled a record 57 all-time highs in 2024. So really the question is going to be, do we print more all-time highs in 2025? Is this going to be a year of pullbacks? Do we continue this current uptrend that we can see here on the daily chart? You know, if we flip to a weekly chart, you can see we're really starting to ramp a little bit more. So do we set more all-time highs? This kind of goes back to one of the things that we were discussing before we adjourned for New Year's Day. Do you folks have any targets? We talked a little bit about Tom Lee having an S&P cash target of about 7,000. We talked about Dan Ives saying that there was 25% growth ahead here in tech. So I'm just curious to see if anyone has any long-term predictions here on the market. What do you think about the highs? Do you think we set around 50 new all-time highs? I'll be honest, that's a pretty tough benchmark to get to. If you had asked me at the beginning of 2024 if we were going to do that in 2024, I likely would have said no. And so I kind of feel the same way here in 2025. Let's see, though. Again, call it a New Year's resolution, if you will, but one of the things that I'm definitely going to try and do this year is, instead of, I have my own thoughts about the market. They change from time to time, but I'm going to do my best to play what the market gives me. And that is to say, if I really think the market needs to pull back, I'll keep that on the back burner. But if the market keeps showing you things that, hey, we're going higher here, stocks have positive momentum, if you can't beat them, join them. And I'm not necessarily looking to sit on the sidelines here for a majority of the year. So we'll see. I'm already positioned in small caps, so I don't really need to do anything here. But if big cap tech or big caps in general look to put in another really good year here, might have to adjust my trading plan throughout the course of the year. I should say my long-term trading plan. My short-term trading plan that we do here every day, that should remain intact. So just some things to look at here. I'd love to know what you folks think about where the market might end up. Do you think we're going to have an overall red year, an overall green year? I'd like to know. In fact, producer, that might be a really good poll question here for the day. Does 2025 finish does it finish red or does it finish green? I guess we can start with kind of a simple poll right there. And then maybe as the year goes on, we can talk about different degrees of red and green. But would love to hear what you folks think. What do you think is going to happen here in 2025? Okay, another thing to keep in mind here in 2025, we're going to pull up UNG, which is the United States Natural Gas Fund. Here, let me actually turn off this 500-day. You can see recently we've really kind of come in at this bottom, or we've really kind of established this bottom, I should say, I beg your pardon. And now it looks like we're coming off that bottom. We've popped above a lot of these moving averages, which have really kind of consolidated down here. So looking pretty good. The other thing here is that we did kind of have this trend in here that we've really kind of broken. So maybe it might be time for natural gas to kind of reverse course here, at least in terms of the charts. Tim Melvin has talked a lot about how natural gas is likely going to be the bridge to a renewable energy future, or bridge to nuclear. And as a result, there's going to be opportunity there for alpha in some of those natural gas names. That's definitely something that we want to take a look at. In other news here, natural gas prices, and in fact, let me pull up the commodity here so I can give you that price. Oops, got to type the ticker in right. Natural gas prices spiked as bone-chilling Arctic blast approaches, and European gas prices pair gains after loss of Russian flows via Ukraine. Now, remember, we had actually talked about with Anne-Marie last week. She set up a trade here on Boyle that's already starting to perform. We'll see if that continues to perform here. Boyle, of course, the levered ETF, UNG, the non-levered ETF. So your risk profile there is going to determine which one of these you'd like to trade. Unless you're just following Anne-Marie because she's just making bank all the time. That I understand too. So, okay. Where does natural gas end up? I notice I actually pulled it up here. We've actually pulled off the highs. Looks like we printed some highs there around 3.74. We've pulled off those highs a little bit, but we're still looking pretty good here. Natural gas futures down about 0.06, so right at about even. Pairing some of those gains that we saw earlier this morning. So we'll keep an eye here on natural gas plays. I can't remember if there are folks out there, if you guys like to trade Boyle. I know it gives some extreme movement, so maybe that is a decent target here for short-term trades. I want to caution the entire group, though, with Boyle. That thing can be crazy. Natural gas, we talk about this being the widowmaker. Boyle, the craziest of those tickers to play. So again, just make sure you have a plan for either direction if you end up doing that. That's what's going on here with natural gas. Now, moving from natural gas to oil, I know that's going to be another big thing. Remember, one of the things that we talked about a lot recently is energy and how that was the worst performing sector of 2024. And so the question then is energy going to outperform then in 2025? I don't anticipate it being worse than 2024. I think with pretty much all of the news flow that we have out there, whether it's data center, AI, autonomous vehicles, drones, like our energy needs are not going to come back in. They're only going to expand. So as a result, I expect energy to be front and center most of 2025. And I don't just mean dirty energy like coal and oil. I mean all types of energy. I think it behooves us to stay on top of all of those. Oil climbs in the year's first session with U.S. stockpiles in focus. So looking over here at crude up 1.13% here in the pre-market. Looks like we printed a high of 72.88 on the crude futures contract. We've come in a little bit off that, but oil higher here. We'll see what that means for energy as a sector. I know we talked a little bit about some of that near the end of the year, so I'd be curious, did anyone position themselves in energy names? Or whether it's specific names or maybe even an ETF that tracks any of this, or a commodity like oil or natural gas or some other commodity. Let me know. Let me know if you have any thoughts for 2025 and how you're actually playing that. I don't have any positions for energy on. The closest thing I have to that. Oh, actually, I do. I hold NEP, but I hold that more because that pays just a ridiculous dividend. And I actually think that stock might be a double from where it's at if things go well. And then FMC would probably be that's not necessarily energy. It's more a materials stock, but can be tied to that in some cases. So I don't really have a whole lot of positions for energy going into 2025. If things change and I do look to kind of formulate a trading plan around this entire sector, believe me, we'll talk about that more than one time here on this show and also in Happy Hour. And then shout out, by the way, if you've struggled in 2024 and you think you need a little bit more help, maybe Benzinga Pro and the Benzinga community that comes with Benzinga Pro is your answer. I will say here, shameless plug, Benzinga is really what turned it around for me when I was a self-taught trader just getting started. Reliable news and all of the information in one place really made things easier for me to synthesize. So maybe that's something that you need for 2025. Okay, and then as far as another individual stock, we do have some movers that we're going to get to. I know we're waiting for the jobless claims here in 9 minutes. We'll see what that does. And then some other let's just preview some of the economic events. So today, we've got the jobless claims at 8:30. Again, 9 minutes away. We'll go over those when they are released. Tomorrow, we have the S&P Global Manufacturing data. That's going to be at 9:45, 15 minutes after the open. I'm sure we'll look at that, especially if it has an impact on the market. That's today at 9:45. Tomorrow, we have the ISM manufacturing data at 10 o'clock. So again, shortly after the open, we're going to have some more manufacturing data. We're going to get FOMC minutes next Wednesday. So that's going to be interesting because remember, next week, the market is closed on Thursday in observance for President Carter's funeral. So we're not going to have a session there on Thursday. The day before, we're actually going to get some FOMC minutes. And then the other thing that's going on next week is CES 2025. Now, producer, I don't know if you have a link for CES handy. I don't. We haven't actually talked about that in Happy Hour. Sometimes I save some of those links. But CES 2025 is going to be next week. There will be a number of keynote speeches. Jensen Huang, CEO of NVIDIA, will be kicking it off on Monday morning. So we definitely want to take a look at what kind of headlines are coming out of CES. We definitely want to figure out or monitor how tech stocks are trading and performing with CES going on. And we want to see if there's anything new that might kind of help us identify a theme, a change in theme, and then maybe some outperformers and underperformers in those themes. CES is pretty good about that. I believe CES last year, and I'm recalling on my memory, which sometimes lets me down, all the way back to the beginning of next year. I believe there was a lot of talk in CES about AI and things of that nature. And you don't need me to tell you what we had pretty much all of 2024, but especially in the latter half of 2024. I mean, anything related to AI really, really went crazy. All right. So, something to keep an eye on here. And then producer here, oops, sorry about that. Producer here, we will be restreaming Jensen's keynote speech on Monday evening. So don't worry if you can't catch it, either because of your job, your trading action, family work, swim practice, early hockey practice. It doesn't matter. If you can't catch it, we will restream that. Appreciate you, producer. Hadid saying, I will be at CES 2025. Do we have a boots on the ground reporter? Hadid, can we get you to give us your hot or top thoughts from CES? That would be amazing. As the producer says here, awesome, enjoy. There's tons of really interesting panels. Hadid, I'd like to get your entire thought on the presentation. Like, what did you take away from it? That's really, really interesting. I had no idea that you were going really awesome. We're starting 2025 off in a very awesome fashion, folks. You absolutely love to see that. Okay, let's really quickly talk about Apple. I know I kind of digressed there when we were talking about CES, but a lot of stuff going on here. Apple Now, I don't think there's necessarily a trade here. It's definitely something to watch. If I've talked to you about Apple before and some of the trades that I've made on Apple, especially when they talk about channel checks and phone demand and all of this stuff. But let's set the stage here. First of all, taking a look at Apple's daily chart, look at how great this stock. This is, again, just in terms of one of the stocks that it's just great to hold. I don't think, at least in my life, I'm 40 years old, and in my life, I've never come across a stock that's a better long-term hold than Apple, ticker AAPL. So, man, oh man, it's doing it again. Do we have another year of gains ahead of us? UBS cuts the iPhone sales forecast for December amid stiff competition from rivals. Okay, so I know the big battle here is going to be the new Apple phone with Apple Intelligence, part of the Apple ecosystem, of course. But UBS here cutting the sales forecast for iPhone. So are we buying this dip? Are we buying UBS's call here? I know, again, a lot of these normally, if we get calls like this and it impacts Apple's price, a lot of times I view that as an opportunity to add and then trade around my core position. None of this stuff is going to make me alter my core position. None of this changes my long-term trading strategy on Apple. I'm solely talking about maybe trading around that core position with this. So we'll see how this actually affects Apple today. Let's take a look inside and see how it's doing here in the pre-market. You see, we're just about flat. Technically, we're up 22 cents here. Had some movement up, had some movement down. Apple doesn't really seem to be responding to the story yet. We'll see if that changes. UBS also maintained a neutral rating, by the way. And Apple offers a holiday discount in China as Huawei competition steps up. Now, that should be no surprise to anybody. Apple's obviously trying to boost their struggling iPhone sales in China by offering discounts over some of the local brands. This is typical, the business as usual, frankly, as far as I'm concerned. The one thing to note there is that while those sales have been declining in China, it certainly hasn't impacted the stock price for anything more than a temporary blip as Apple continues to push higher here. I'll tell you what, I saw a lot of Apple products around the holidays. I saw a lot of people talking about their new Apple products. And then I have those that did not get new Apple products saying, boy, I can't wait for the next Apple product, whether it be an iPad, phone, or Mac. So I don't know. We'll see where this goes. Again, these channel checks in the past have often resulted in a opportunity to trade to the long side. We'll see if 2025 is any different than previous years. Hadid says, I've been going for the last 10 years. Damn. Well, awesome. I can't wait to hear. I absolutely can't wait to hear. Okay. Apple due to report earnings around the end of January. Indeed. So let's actually take a look at that here real quick. Here is the earnings estimation for Apple. We have it estimated for January 30th. Last year, they actually did it on February 1st. And the year before, they did it on February 2nd. And the year before that, they did it on January 27th. So you're absolutely right. Between those last couple of days in January and the first couple of days in February is likely when we're going to see the report. If I take a look at the calendar here, the January, I see exactly where the news desk team for Benzinga Pro got this estimate. Apple traditionally reports their earnings on a Thursday after hours. And guess what? January 30th is a Thursday, so you're likely to see that report come out on January 30th. Worth noting that if they do it the following week, that would be February 6th. And the Super Bowl would actually be that weekend. So interesting there with Apple. We'll see when we get them to confirm those reports, but you are looking for those earnings here at the end of January and or the beginning of February. Okay. Data Raider, I think Date Raider, I think is what that is. Sorry. Date Raider saying long-term ET holder, bullish and hold NEP, NEE, PBR, and SD. So, okay, there you go. I'm also bullish on NEP, by the way. That's the only holding that I share with you on that one, but really, really good stuff there. Okay. Let's see. We are 1 minute away from the jobless claim data. So I'm sure producer will throw that up here on the screen. I definitely would like to hear what stocks you're looking at, especially for all of 2025. Let me look across the board here and see if anything is happening. I don't really see it. Oh, and then Bitcoin. We haven't even mentioned Bitcoin yet in 2025. Let me go ahead and do that here. Bitcoin futures look to be up here, up 3.63%. Again, that's slash BTC. Bitcoin futures here, 97,500, and they look to be holding pretty steady. They actually look to be trying to break out from this sideways level. If we take a look at the daily chart here, look at this. So we had this big impulse move. This took us almost to 110,000. We've pulled off that level, and now it looks like we're kind of holding. I remember I had a support level drawn in here, this purple shaded area. It actually looks like we've really kind of held 92,000, I believe is what this number is. Looks like we actually have a kind of a double bottom here. Now, the one thing to note here, let's see. We're going to do this again. We're going to kind of set this up. Got a little bit of a shoulder here. Little bit of a head here. Are we going to get a shoulder to form right in here? That's the question. We'll see how this ends up turning out here. But if we do get this head and shoulders on the daily formation, maybe then we will break down into this support area. So we shall see. Thinking about it says, is this a Melvin day? No, with the holidays here, folks, we gave all of the guests the week off. We are going to have a special guest for you tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And we're going to try to incorporate more of that in. Tim Melvin will be joining us next week, thinking about it. So looking at the calendar here, you can pencil that in for January 8th will be our next Tim Melvin day. Okay. So there you go. Really good question there, though. Good question. So, okay. So with just kind of back to Bitcoin, this is kind of what we're looking at here. We'll see what Bitcoin ends up giving us. And we wouldn't be a check-in on Bitcoin without also checking in on MicroStrategy, one of our favorite stocks to trade around here. Here is MSTR. Tell you what, this broke down or has been breaking down from the head and shoulders that we drew on here. It looks like this really, really worked out. Question next is obviously going to be, where do we stop? So do we fill this gap and bounce? I have that at about 278. MicroStrategy up 11 points here, up almost 4% here in the pre-market. And as you can see here, Pro attributing this move up in the pre-market to the move in Bitcoin. So there we go. Okay. Let's go ahead and check some of those data prints. I know I'm probably a little late on this, but you folks are normally on top of it. U.S. jobless claims, initial jobless claims, 211,000. Oh, let me get this out of here. 211,000 versus 222,000 estimate. The prior read there was for 220K, so we're coming in a little bit light there. U.S. continuing jobless claims, 1844K versus the 1890K estimate. Again, a little bit light there as well. So, okay, there's your jobless claims. Let's see how the market is taking this. S&P futures, let's take a look here. S&P futures still up about 0.8, so looking pretty good there. Dow futures up 0.7, and the NASDAQ still up a full percent. So it looks like the market kind of taking that data print in stride. Doesn't really look like there is, doesn't really look like there's any movement going on here. Okay. All right, let's take a look here real quick. Numbers will revise up if the Fed is full of it, conditionally accepted, having none of what the Fed is telling us. Date Raider, my next phone is not an Apple. First time moving from an iPhone since 2009. So here you go. You're one of those people in the Apple ecosystem that is traditionally very hard to break. And you're saying, that's it. I've had enough. I'm breaking. I'd be curious to know, what was it that did this? Why are you making this change? And if you have a family, are you making the change for the rest of your family, or is this just something personal? I'd like to know. I know it's just anecdotal, but that's something that I'd like to know. Gemini woman. So the old Benzinga pre-market is no more with those previous two fellas. Yep, they broke off to do their own thing. Love them both, obviously. Been following Dennis my entire life, but yes, they're off doing their own thing. But don't worry, because on PreMarket Playbook, we're going to get you prepared every single day. We're going to also try and bring you exclusive content, guest interviews for those that are in the market. And then, of course, we're going to trade with you in some of this. We're going to try to identify different opportunities for trades, pockets for alpha, all of that good stuff. All right. All of that good stuff. Lion Atlas saying, honestly, all of those numbers are cooked. I totally feel that. I'm with you on that one. I'm absolutely with you on that one. We continue to see revisions. I don't really think that's good for public confidence, especially in some of our official institutions. That would just be my take on it. But I agree with you. Those numbers all seem to be cooked. 3D, good morning. Happy New Year, 3D. Happy 2025 to you. I want to move away from Apple. So that's an interesting comment too, for two reasons. Number one, I would ask the same thing that I asked Date Raider there. Why? What is the reason that you want to do this? I'm sure it's good. I just want to know why that is. And then the other thing that is kind of inherent in your question here is you want to, but you haven't yet. So the question would be, why in that case too? Is it because the ecosystem is so sticky? Is it because you have so many things saved and you don't want to necessarily change a whole bunch of stuff? I'm really curious in all that, in all of that, because if we extrapolate that to a bigger population, we might be able to gain some insight on where the stock price for Apple will go. Okay, so just thought that's really interesting stuff. Lion Atlas saying, I don't trust anything coming from the government. Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. They've done a really good job at destroying their credibility. And of course, earning trust is a much longer road than destroying or eroding it. So keep that under your hat as well. Producer saying, I moved away from Apple, but I want to go back. Man. Okay. Why? Same deal here. Sorry, bro. It's supposed to be day trader. Okay. Well, I read it wrong. So day trader, instead of calling you date raider, which I guess didn't really make a lot of sense, we'll go with day trader. Makes a lot more sense, especially for a stock trading show. Frankly, I'm a little embarrassed that I got it wrong, but there you go. So okay, day trader. So let me know. I'd be curious to know what your folks what you think about this. Why? Is the opinion changing on Apple? The one thing that I will say about Apple is that we talked about this with Intel. We talked about some of these companies being very much akin to a large ship, whether it be a cruise ship or a tanker. Turning those things around takes a long time. You can't just make a very quick turn. So that's kind of why I'm asking here about some of these anecdotal thoughts, like why do people want to move away or move to Apple? If we see some of those trends play out over a long term across many people, maybe that ship is starting to turn. And that might change how we think about this from an investment and a trading perspective. So just something to keep an eye on there. Okay, let's take a look at some stocks. Folks. I do kind of want to stay away from the movers until we get 13 here. That's not going to be long. So we might as well take a look at some of those stocks there. Okay, let's see. I think some of you threw some out here. Sergeant Sexy said, I like Jay Harris. No, what a surprise. Jay Harris wants to take a look at Tesla and Palantir. Let's do that. We're going to do AVAV, Tesla, and Palantir right now. So here, let me actually write that on my note sheet so that I don't. AV, Tesla, PLTR. Okay, let's dive right in. Now, excuse me. AVAV, starting with this one, this is going to be your best in breed drone stock. All right, this is AeroVironment here. Now, this chart, I don't think there's really any news going on here recently, right? Denies protest of Army's Switchblade Award, Army contract, rest in percent protest. Yeah, okay. So since their most recent earnings, I don't really think there's anything crazy here. Obviously, there was the upholding this near $1 billion contract here on AVAV. But if we take a look at the chart, and sorry about that. Let me go ahead and turn the stuff back on so it's easy for you folks to see. Okay. If we take a look at AVAV, we're actually coming into an interesting area. First of all, can we hold this 150 area? Now, I've got this low here at about 151-ish, but let's be honest. Let's just call it 150, right? Like, can we hold this area? If we break this area, I actually think we have some pretty good support down here at about 140, 141. And then, of course, we have a gap fill down here to 135. So I would say this 135 to 150 area. In fact, you know what we should do? We should probably draw that right here on the chart. Let's do that. Let's do one of our little purple boxes here. We'll do this 150 down to 135, and we'll draw this area out. All right, bang. So this area right here on AVAV, I think should provide some really significant support for this stock if we continue to trade down here. Now, again, even if you don't trade this stock, this is definitely one that you want to have on your watch list. And this is definitely one that you want to continually watch, because this, again, is going to be your best in breed for drones. So if drones continue to be a strong theme in 2025, this would definitely be a stock to watch. Also, some of these smaller drone companies, if they make for good M&A targets, which would be really awesome to wake up and have one of your holdings be up 40%, AVAV might be one of those companies looking to buy some of those out. So we'll see how this materializes. Sergeant Sexy, you like this going into 2025. I can see why. Given all of that, let's see what the chart tells us in terms of its next level of support, and then we can trade it against that level of support here. So really good stuff with AVAV. I, for one, am still into drones in 2025. I think this is going to make for a really good theme pretty much all year. I am expecting some merger and acquisition in 2025. And of course, my biggest drone holding is ONDS, or Ondas, which I've talked about quite a bit here. So, okay, really good stuff there. So 3D, you were saying they have great products, but they have a highly intrusive Apple Intelligence. Okay, that's interesting. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. I'll be honest, as far as Apple Intelligence goes, I've tried to use it a little bit. I really haven't found a whole lot of stuff where I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a great. This is going to be a great new product. I don't necessarily see it yet. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Like I would say to all of you folks, if there's something that you find in Apple Intelligence or one of these features that you really, really like, let me know. If I can, I'd be happy to test it out. CEO Protection Unit says, I have 2 hungry kittens, BRB. How on earth did you get to 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning before those cats demanded their food? My cat is in the habit of demanding his food at 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm sleeping. So I normally have to wake up to feed him. Okay. By the way, double matcha green tea. Awesome in the morning there. Okay. Where does Tesla release their delivery numbers? So I don't know when we are expecting those. I know we're expecting them today. When those delivery numbers come out, you will, of course, get them here in Benzinga Pro. Tesla adds 11,000 superchargers in 2024. This is not the delivery number that I was referring to. Supercharger connectors. Yeah, this is just on the supercharger. I still think we're expecting vehicle deliveries a little bit later. Producer, help me out here. You didn't see any of these deliveries yet, right? I haven't either. But and then if you know when we're expecting those, let me know. I will, as soon as I see that cross the wire, I will obviously mention it here. I don't have them yet. But I'll keep an eye out for that on Tesla. Okay. My jump from Lightning to USB-C was a definite bonus. And I love USB-C, by the way. Apple AI looks like an expensive toy to me. It kind of feels like that too, right? Like, I know some of those emails, how it changes around some of your writing, that can be useful. I generally prefer to write emails in my own language just so people can identify that it's me. But I could see why that would be helpful for some people. Jeff Bezos saying, I like Katos. I wish he would talk about it. Okay, so you're talking about this one, right? Let's do it right now. I'm assuming you're referring to me. Let's do that here right now. Kratos, this is going to be Kratos Defense and Security. This actually does have a pretty awesome chart. Now, I will say, if security and drones and all of that is going to be a big theme for you, this is likely going to be in play here. Kratos Defense and Security Solutions develops and fields transformative, affordable technology platforms and systems. The company has two segments. The Kratos Government Solutions, KGS segment, is comprised of an aggregation of KGS operating segments, including the microwave, electronic products, space, training, and cybersecurity. So that is a couple of themes that we've already talked about. I know we've talked a lot about space here. That's also one of the 2025 themes I want to keep an eye on. 13 is very, very much into the entire space theme. So that's definitely one we want to take a look at. The unmanned systems segment consists of unmanned aerial, unmanned ground, unmanned seaborne, and related command, control, and communication system businesses. So that is going to be the rest of it there. This absolutely plays into the drones. Jeff, I guess I would ask you here. I mean, I just read you what the company does. Makes a lot of sense. I can totally see why you'd like this one. The question that I would have for you is, what makes you like this one more than some of its peers? That I always find pretty interesting here. What do the bulls say about this here real quick? Kratos Defense and Security Solutions is positioned for substantial growth with a robust bid and proposal pipeline of 12. Is that 12 or 1.2? 12 billion, including strong demand and opportunities within its sectors. The company anticipates a revenue growth trajectory of 8 to 12% annually, driven by advancements in unmanned systems and and propulsion technologies. So right here, this already is saying that, to me, this is saying they're looking for really good growth annually already. And if the theme is a little bit hotter, maybe we can expect even higher numbers there. That would definitely be bullish for this stock here. Kratos' strategic focus on low-cost production, particularly in the hypersonics and tactical platform, is expected to enhance its competitive edge and profitability, further reinforcing the positive outlook on the stock performance. Okay, so real quickly. So, Jeff, the one thing that I'll say here is I'll start poking through my network, see if there's anything else I can uncover here with Kratos. I don't really hear a lot about it, but I do like this. I like the theme. This really kind of fits in with some of the other things that I'm looking for here in 2025. Man, this was a great ad at $9, which happened in late 2022. Let me do some more digging into this when I'm off camera and see if I can come up with something else. I appreciate you bringing this to the group, and I would absolutely add this to that drone watch list that we've talked about, as well as some of the security and cybersecurity themes that we've talked about. That actually brings me to one more stock that I want to mention. I have no position in Palo Alto Networks yet, but I'll tell you this right now, folks. I'm looking. I am hunting for a long-term position in Palo Alto. This might have to be like Costco, where I just kind of add in small chunks every time it really sells off. I'm interested in what it does here at this 100-day. Honestly, if this thing broke down and tested the 200-day, that would be awesome. I would absolutely be a buyer there, and I'd be looking to hold this for more than 5 minutes. So PanW, I think, might have a pretty good 2025. I want to add on weakness. I'd love for this to really kind of fall away from the 100-day here. If it holds it, maybe we'll take a little bit. Maybe we'll take a little bit there. Big Bees. Look at this. Our chat, not even waiting for the producer, just out here doing it themselves. 9 a.m. Eastern is when those Tesla delivery numbers are released. Big Bees, you are on top of it. Appreciate you. Appreciate you a lot. Okay. Lion Atlas saying Kratos. I think this is a mistype, Lion. I think that you meant Kratos. Has great fundamentals. I used to own it. Certainly seems like that, right? 8 to 12% growth annually. You're not going to do that with crappy fundamentals, that's for sure. So, and Andrew, you owned this when it was 3 and sold it around 12, and then it was up to 20s there. So pretty good trade there, Lion. Stay on top of it. Okay, it's a new year, but it's the same crew. Let's go ahead and bring on 13. 13, Happy New Year, boss. How are you doing here in the new year?
Well, it's a new year, new show, but hey, same guys, like you said. How is everybody in their 2025? I'm having a good start to the year. How about you?
Yeah, I'm having a really good start to the year. As you mentioned, Benzinga pre-market playbook on its first show here in 2025. We're doing pretty good so far. Now, the market hasn't opened 13, so we'll see what happens. But I was very pleased to turn on my terminal here and see green arrows across the board being led by NASDAQ up a percent here in the pre-market. So we recently, right before you got on here, I'm unsure if you saw this or went through this, but right before you jumped on here, we did get the initial jobless claims. That number came in a little bit soft. Market looks fairly unresponsive to said number. So where do you want to start? I haven't done any of the movers. I basically I really quickly opened up with some of the terrorist attacks that we saw on New Year's, which was really sad. And then we kind of just moved through some of the other stories here. Tesla, we talked a little bit about Apple, we talked a little bit about oil, and then we talked, of course, about GameStop and Unity. So where do you want to start, 13?
Well, we could start with the movers. I don't see why we couldn't.
Okay, let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to flip over to my movers tool and we will run down the list here for you.
All right.
Got about 40 minutes till we open. And so don't worry, folks. We should absolutely be able to cover all of the stocks that you want to cover here in the playbook before we get open. We're going to start here. If you have no objections, 13, we're going to start here with Rev B. This is going to be Revelation Biosciences. Stop me if you've heard this before, but we got a no news penny stock runner on our hands here. That seems to be what's going on with Rev B. As mentioned, didn't see any news here. Did any break? Nope. Don't see any fresh news here at all. Short interest, negligible. There's some, but it's not really doing anything here. We've traded this one before. I don't know if I want to call this one an ex-girlfriend because I don't really know if we traded this a lot, but I know we've traded this before. The float's right in our butter zone, 8.35 million. 13, what do you think?
So I was taking a look at many of these as possible before I came on here, and Rev B was one I started reading into before we got connected here. So yes, no news today, but when I was looking through some of the news from December, I noticed that they are looking to sell over 14 million shares of common stock, and I don't believe that has gone through yet. So if this starts taking off, be careful. There could be a capital raise coming with this company. Now, when I look at their financials, it doesn't look like they need it that badly, but they have filed this offering of securities form, an S3. So that could mean that they're going to probably raise at some point. Might be today. I don't know. I didn't get too far into reading that, but that's just something that's on my radar with this one. To be careful, get in, get out, move on. The float is 8.35 million shares. They do have 6.5 million in the bank, but they burn about 2.5 million a quarter. So that's about all I've got with Rev B. And let me see if I've got levels here.
Yeah, while you're looking for those levels, I completely agree with you on the cash position here. I think this definitely needs a capital raise at some point. You had mentioned here that they burn money every quarter. Yeah, they do have a little bit of cash left, but it's not a whole lot. And actually, in some quarters, they've burned more than the cash on hand here, 13. So I'm with you there. I can't tell you if it's going to come today, but I think that's definitely something that we should expect.
Yeah, it looks like one of the early levels that we can watch for some pretty strong resistance is 150. Back in August, we had this drop that took the price down to under $1, and then we had a pop back above that, but we went right to 150 and got rejected. Have not been back there since. So I'm thinking 150 might be a really interesting. We did have a big gap up and gap down the previous day, but 150 seems to be like the big resistance area for the price action in Red B.
Yeah, and to your point here, we actually almost tested that here in the pre-market. It looks like we put in a 145 high print. I'd also add that to the list. So I would say at this point, the way things look here this morning, 145 to 150 definitely going to be a significant resistance area there. I'd also mention that $1 looks to be one of the support areas that we've kind of already held that here this morning.
Yeah, and it's in the process of recapturing VWAP. So if that follows through and is able to start trading above it into the open, we might have some better movement going into the bell.
Okay. Rev B, that's going to be your first one here. Really good stuff. Next is going to be AEI. This is AI set. This stock popped here. Looks like as high as 280. Let's see if we've got any fresh news on this one here. What's that?
Insider buying.
Yeah, that's that. I guess we could call it fresh because it is insider buying. I have this here. This was HWH International buying 10% here, 1.3 million shares at 45 cents. That was back from December 26th, though, via an SEC filing here. You can see what the stock has done since then. Actually popped a couple of times, most notably here on December 31st, right? So New Year's Eve, the stock popped in the pre-market, did pretty much nothing the rest of the day. And then here we are today.
Well, what does this company even do? E-home communities and other real estate. So it's in the real estate. I think for this one, I'm not sure what to expect, but
yeah, this is a Chinese real. This is just kind of Chinese real estate. Consumer products with operations in the United States, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Australia and South Korea.
Okay. Well, for this one, then we probably would want to just rely on the technicals more than anything else, since we're not sure about the cash positions or how real they are. I mean, because I've never heard of this company. I don't know if this is a real company or if it's just another, junky box job. Does seem that like they have, a pretty good amount of cash on hand, but being that this is from China, that could be an RMB conversion. Doesn't look like they lost money last quarter, but yeah, I really don't have too good of a read on this as far as the company goes. But I like I said, I think we should probably just focus on the technicals with this one, and then try to make some trades happen that way.
Yeah, the one thing I will say here is that as far as like insider buys go, it does look like, was this the CEO, chief? Yeah, it looks like the CEO has been buying his own stock for years. Since the 1-for-20 reverse split. So I guess that's a good thing to see here. I'd be a little skeptical of this. Frankly, I think we've got some better targets here for today, but that's what's going on. $2 definitely seems to be a support level here. And I would say that the double top that we put in here at about 289, 290 would represent some upside resistance. Still, I'm not even sure we get back to VWAP on this name. The volume is going to tell the story. You can see that volume pops that we've had already today have been met with selling and has brought the stock lower there. So looks to me like you want to add on pullbacks here instead of breaks to the highs.
Yeah, what's interesting about this, and maybe this is just my broker, but it might be the same on Neil's charts. It seems like just above 2, like maybe 205, somewhere around there. That seems to be a pretty interesting resistance area, and it's been like that ever since 2023. We did a gap down in February of 2023, and it seems like that's where the price ended up going to this morning. It filled that gap. You see what I'm referring to? I mean, you might need a larger time frame, like a day or a week, but that's what I'm getting here is that they broke out of this resistance area that it's been dealing with for almost 2 years, around 205, filled the gap from February of 2023, and now we've come back down to that resistance area now as support at 205. So that's kind of what I'm getting from what I've got on my broker. It might look different on your chart.
No, I see exactly what you're talking about here, and you're right. We did break this multi-year high resistance area that we've put in. The only thing that I'd be kind of watching here or thinking about the other times that we've come up and tested this area, again, we've spent several days afterwards pulling back. So to the point here about being quick with this. If you do get an opportunity here today, maybe make sure you get those gains booked.
It is on that daily chart there. I see it now. I mean, you just gotta back all the way out so you can see February of 2023, and you'll see the gap that goes from about 220 to $3.
Okay, here it is.
The levels.
Yep. All right. Happy New Year, Jane. Good to see you. Cheers, indeed. Definitely looking for a prosperous and awesome 2025. And I'll be honest, now the fact that we're all here together, it's starting off pretty well. So let's spin that positive energy forward. Okay. Next one here on the list is going to be ORIS. This is Oris. Oriental Rise Holdings is the name of this. The pre-market formation here is definitely attractive. We did have a couple of volume pops earlier. We had some news from December 30th, Form 6, but I'm not necessarily sure if that's affecting this or if that's causing this to run here. Looks like this is a Chinese tea company.
Yeah.
Now, I love tea as much as the next guy. In fact, I'm working on some green tea right here, but unsure why exactly this is running. Float right in our wheelhouse, 5 million shares there. What do you think on this one, 13?
I was under the impression that coffee was starting to make a bigger impact in China. Now, I'm not saying it's going to overtake tea, since that's been pretty much what they've been drinking for hundreds of years. But I keep seeing more news about, well, obviously we know about Starbucks expanding in China, but other competitors coming up and competing with them in China as well. So it just was interesting that we're getting some movement out of a tea company when coffee's on the rise. And I just don't have any idea of why it's going today. There might be some news that we just don't see because it's something that has more to do with the region over there. The only thing I can really see is that it does have a tiny bit of short interest, which is, to me, negligible. Don't really have a great read on their financials. Just another one of these companies that we're just going to have to look at the technicals and see what we can find.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at that. Let me see if I can get anything here. If you want to pull up something else while I'm getting an idea. Oh, Jesus, he doesn't even look that old.
Yeah, no, I will say, at least temporarily here, sure looks like 320 is going to be the upside area to take a look at. You can see, was this a spec?
What was this? It came out in October and it just had a huge run. I mean, this looks like a total.
Yeah, this kind of looks like a pump job to me.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be careful with the levels. I'll be honest with you. The only levels that I would really take anything from are the ones that we're setting here this morning. So maybe there is a level off a higher time frame that we eventually run into, but the ones that I'd be paying particular attention to are these ones that are made here in the pre-market.
Yeah, I really couldn't say how this is going to behave because we don't have a whole lot of data on this. We've got a quarter's worth, maybe even less than that actually. So don't have a whole lot that we can really draw on as far as levels or really have reliable moving averages. I really don't know what to expect with this one. Maybe it goes. Maybe this is the one that goes crazy today, like we've been seeing every week. Maybe this is the crazy one today. So keep an eye on ORIS for crazy moves. Otherwise, junk.
Real quickly here, I know the chat's all over this. Tesla here is pulling. We've actually pulled $8 here in the pre-market. We pulled down to the lows from the after-hour session that we found ourselves in on Tuesday on New Year's Eve. Actually, now we're pushing lower here. Wonder if these delivery numbers are out here. I don't have anything up in the news feed. I'll keep an eye out here on the Twitter streets. Here we go. So I am seeing some here. Tesla Q4 deliveries, 495,000 versus the 512,000 estimate. So it looks like the Tesla deliveries here coming in a little bit light. That is driving Tesla down here by 2%. We actually lost 400. Tesla continuing to push lower here in the pre-market. So there you go on Tesla. That's what's going on. Delivery numbers coming in a little light, driving the stock lower.
So I haven't been able to, obviously, because it just came out, but I'd be curious to find out if the delivery numbers are lower because of China, because we're also seeing that the Chinese EV makers are reporting record deliveries. So if Tesla's not reporting record deliveries in China, then I think that's a massive headwind for their business out there. So that's something that I'd be thinking about or looking into with this price action.
Okay.
That's just me, though. That's what I would be wondering is, like, how are they performing in China? Because I think that's their largest market at this point.
From what I recall, I don't think they're performing all that well in China. This 384 looks to be the next level here. If we continue to come in, maybe 388 and 384. We'll see where we find support. But that's what's going on here with Tesla. It does look like Jonathan here mentioning this. Does look like the market is pulling a little bit with this. S&P futures down to up about only 0.5% now. Dow futures down to up 0.6, and the Nasdaq, which was the leader, at up over 1% early in the pre-market, that's only up 0.6 now. So though that's the first thing here, it seems to really kind of pull the market. This seems to have more impact than the jobs numbers that we got.
Yeah. Well, because I don't think there's any financial concentration in stocks with jobs numbers like there is with Tesla.
Go ahead.
Real quick, as far as a level goes with Tesla, this looks like it could easily go down to 360. maybe even down to the 50-day SMA. So somewhere between 350 and 360. That's where I think you might find your bottom today. That would be my max level, is to just go right down to the 50.
Okay, here's 384 coming. We're currently right at 385. 384 coming here. We'll see if we bounce at all from this 384 number. There you go. 384, 383 and change. We'll see if we bounce here. We're going to come back here to Tesla. Real quickly here, conditionally accepted, mentioning Tesla warned it would not meet the street expectations. Not the first time Tesla has done that. Does look like it's holding in here at 384. We'll see if that level ends up being a firm one.
So everybody you're seeing selling here is the ones that didn't listen.
Thank
you for that piece. No, I didn't notice that, but if that information was out there, that's great to know. I really appreciate that, because look at the result.
And sure enough, it looks like we are bouncing from 384. So we'll see if that holds in. Okay. Really good stuff there. Next, we're going to take a look at ALCE. This is Alternus Clean Energy here. You can see this stock was up right around 254 earlier today. No news. This thing was up 155% earlier. It's only up 75% now. Does look like maybe it finally put into bottom here and it's trying to find some area of support, but we'll see if that materializes here. Again, I didn't see any news. Yep, still don't here. Let's do another quick check around the horn. 3% of the float shorted a little bit there, but fairly negligible. Insider transactions, that was from the beginning of January of last year. Nope. Cash position, not great here. The last quarter, they were cash flow positive, but they oscillate back and forth. This company might need some money too. Share structure here, 2.17 million. It could go based on its float. What do you think, 13?
To your point about them needing to raise cash, it looks like that's already a plan. Monday, December 16th, they filed an initial offering. So it looks like they're trying to raise cash. They just acquired, I want to say, Lion Acquisition, even though they use two I's. So they just bought a company. They need to go, oh, I need money, and they raise it. Float is 2.17 million. Don't know how that, I haven't done the math, so I don't know how this offering, whenever they complete, it's going to change their cash position. But that'd be something to watch out for, is when that offering goes down. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot on this.
Yeah, me either. I don't actually even recognize this one. I will say that in the pre-market here, the volume looks good. So maybe if we create a kind of a firm support level here, we can trade it against that. I'd be interested in this if it looks to show some strength and moving back towards the VWAP. But again, not even sure that's the case yet here. So we'll see here. ALCE, yeah.
I'll say one thing about this. When I look at the daily chart over time, it seems like every time it tries to go up and break out through the 50-day SMA, that same day it just gets slapped right back down into where it was before and ends up going lower. So it's already looks like it's already gone up to the let's see, 250. Yeah, it's already got broken out beyond the 50-day SMA and already has come back in. There's a lot of consolidation in October between like $2.40 and $3. So a lot of levels, a lot of price action from the past you can draw on about where this thing goes. I would be surprised if it closes above the 50-day SMA given the past price action, and we already determined that it's not moving on anything, right? So
yep, no new, well, nothing fresh anyway. Yep.
Yeah, so that would be my expectation, unless we get some more news that after making a break over the 50, it comes back in and this goes under $1. That would be my thought.
Okay, next here on the list is going to be XPON. This is X Beyond 360. We've definitely traded this one here today. Got a nice looking flag here in the pre-market. X Beyond 360 shares are trading higher after the company announced to begin fulfilling purchase orders for its E360 home energy storage solutions to Wellspring Solar. So getting some positive news there on some storage solutions. I know we've traded XPON before. 539 shares in the float. Absolutely a low float here. Looks like they had earnings here this morning. So this newsprint here on the back of its earnings report looks like this is the preliminary report, I'm guessing. Yep, reports preliminary Q4 revenue. There you go.
Yeah, fine. I mean, when you have short interest this high, put out the preliminaries. Get this
Yeah.
thing ripping.
Yeah.
In low float, so 539,000 shares, 56% of the float shorted. This thing's skyrocketing. Wouldn't surprise me if we already seen this this float traded multiple times already. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw this traded millions of shares more. Um, let's just kind of figure out where this thing could go, because this thing has a lot of potential to really move, given the low float and the short interest, and it has a pretty nice setup. So right now it's currently having trouble staying above VWAP. So one thing to watch for with XPON that I'd be keeping my eye on is when it finally stops this weakness here and starts to get a base or turn around. That recapture of the VWAP, I think, is going to be our tell as to when this thing could get going again. So that'll be something I'm watching for with this one. As of now, it looks like this wants to go lower, but once it's done with that, maybe we get a little bit better price action in towards closer towards the opening bell. But for now, let's just wait this one out, see where it kind of bases, and then we can make a decision on how we want to trade it. But this one could have a lot of potential today.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it does look like it's leaking right here and trying to go lower. It's worth noting it's doing this. The volume is not crazy, so we'll see if this firms up here. 350 actually looks to be a spot for me. This is kind of where we turned around earlier. And I am kind of, let me take a look here. It's really only spread, what, about 10 cents here in the pre-market. Mm-hmm. So it'd be interesting to see if that spread either widens or maybe even compresses after the opening here. I'll be honest, definitely going to watch XPON. Certainly not going to buy it until it flashes a pretty good buy signal, but I'm going to watch it for a lot of the reasons that you outlined here. This does have the potential. We might be sitting on a powder keg if this thing can turn around here. So, okay, really good stuff there. XPON. Next here on the list is going to be VRME, and this is one we actually talked about on New Year's Eve, right? So, yep, here we go. This was from the New Year's Eve movers list. We talked about this having an insider buy from the previous day. Adam Stedham, the director and CEO, bought 22,000 shares at 71 cents. The stock rocketed, really had a poor rest of the day, right? It had that initial volume surge in the pre-market and after the opening print, but really kind of came back in towards 120 in the entire rest of the session, where it closed, or which was the low in the after hours, excuse me. And then this morning, we're popping right back to that same area, that same 240 area that really stopped the stock on Tuesday. Looks to be stopping it again here today. Volume not as impressive here in the pre-market as it was the last time, so we'll see if this turns around. I know we just talked about VRME here, 13, but you have anything new or any other levels that you're looking at?
Oh, let's see what I got in terms of levels. I mean, yeah, I see that the director, CEO, and president has been buying shares for a long, long time, with a lot of buying he did between November and December. But as far as levels go, so today we got a pop up to 248. It seems to me like that is a bit of a resistance area, and you look at a daily chart. But as soon as we get up into the threes, we get a little bit more consolidation. So let's say about maybe 315 is about where that big bulk of the consolidation really starts. It might be a little bit harder for it to get up there or through that consolidation, but that would be my first spot. It'd be about 315 to see if we can get through there. Otherwise, we just need to see this recapture 250, maybe more like 230 to 250, because that's been the resistance throughout, well, pretty much since 2023. Okay. I mean, I don't know if you can see all this on the daily chart, but that's where I'm getting these levels from. It looks like 230 to 250 seems to be resistance, and then if we can get through 250. Then you got, about 315 and to I guess 430. There's gonna be some pretty stiff consolidation.
Yeah, that looks pretty good to me here, 13. So I see exactly where you're getting those levels. We'll see if we end up hitting them. The big thing for me, I want to see if this gives the head fake that it gave right out of the open last time. So I'd be careful. Notice how we kind of leaked in the pre-market and then we ripped. This rip definitely drew in some day traders to the upside, then flushed them out on the backside of the move. This is what I want to avoid here today. We literally just saw this happen. Real quick here. Good morning, Beach Bum. Great to have you back in 2025. Appreciate all of your support. Beach Bum does videos too. Check out his YouTube channel. Does some breakdowns on the weekend. Really good stuff there, Beach Bum. Looking forward to it, 2025. AC 2000, good morning and Happy New Year indeed. Good to see you back here as well. Happy New Year. Same with you, Fairchild and Crow. Of course, Diamond Hotline. Okay, next here on the list, VSME. So this had some news. Looks like the why is it moving that we have here this morning? VS Media shares are trading higher. The company announced it will acquire 100% of the M-Link Limited and offer 1.25 million shares as part of the deal there. Now that news looks like that was this was starting here in the after hours and New Year's Eve. But we're getting more of that here today, more of the details on that. So this is popping it here. Stock's up about 44% here on VSME. Short interest on this, pretty much nothing. Insider transactions on this, nothing to speak of, at least none that I can find here. But the float, exactly where we'd hoped it should be, 3.61 million here on this. 13, you got anything on this one? Ticker VSME?
Yeah, the price action that we're getting, I guess since yesterday, I'm just not sure about, or I'm sorry, not yesterday, since the New Year's Eve. I just don't know if we're going to go much higher. And the reason is because ever since we started popping toward the end of the day and breaking out into, over 165, all the price action that we've had in the after hours and pre-market seems to give an indication that there's a base at about 180 and a lot of resistance once the price gets over VWAP. I need to start seeing the price close over VWAP again. Otherwise, I think this may lose that 180 support. That would be my thought on this.
Okay, so I think as far as key levels here, you're spot on, right? 180, clearly the support that's being drawn out here this morning. The resistance area at the VWAP, you're absolutely right. If you actually look at a 5-minute chart here, none of those 5-minute candles closed above that VWAP. We continued to come back in on some of those candles. I'd like to see some sustained building above the VWAP. Easy for me to say. I'd also add 240 to 260 as a potential resistance area in there. I know we've got 3 candles of varying spots where it kind of stops. So I just kind of plop that area in there. VSME, at least this has a piece of news here today. Volume not terribly impressive. I guess the piece of news was actually from Tuesday, but regardless, volume not terribly impressive here. We should be able to tell the story with the volume and with some of those key areas there. So, okay, 13, really good stuff on VSME.
I've been seeing, I don't know if you covered this one this morning, but I saw some folks asking about CTCX.
I haven't. We can go ahead and do that. If the folks are asking for it, let's cover it. It's, of course, a penny stock, which is why it wasn't on my list. But look at the move that it's made.
Yeah, and this is on them acquiring
Elevate Skincare.
Yeah. Now, they do have 15.2 million shares in the float. And it looks like they needed cash until I started reading their news, and it appears that they just had a securities purchase agreement in December where they sold 8 million shares of its common stock and equal to with an equal number of 5-year warrants. So they raised money. It just hasn't been reflected on their balance sheet yet because that happened about a week ago, a little more than a week ago. So. Not going to really see that show up on the balance sheets until their next report. So I don't think that there's any real risk here of them needing to raise capital. Hopefully, I'm not wrong about that. But based on what they've been doing already, it seems like they have a good cash position now. And then the only other news is that they're acquiring this company. So at that point, it's just a matter of levels for me with this one because I don't know how high this is going to go. I don't know anything about this company that they're trying to acquire. Clearly, this biotech company is focused on dermatological issues. So I don't know how. I mean, obviously, especially that resonates with me, given the melanoma in my family. But yeah, I don't really know how this is going to trade today. Let's take a look at the technicals. Maybe we get some levels that way. Would you have some?
I was just going to ask you more of like a hypothetical question here. Do you think that the news on its cash is one of the reasons why it's ripping here today? Maybe other people are looking into this, thinking that maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I was just kind of spitballing here.
I think at this point your guess might be as good as mine.
Yeah, just wondering.
But looks to me like if we get some continued upside here, we could go as high as, I would say, 128. It seems like back on October 16th, we ran up to 127 and got resistance there. Now, if we do the same thing today, we're also going to be coming right up to the 200 daily EMA. So seems like 128, 127 is a pretty good target for this to run to if we get that movement. And it's setting up to do just that with this current price action we're getting. Like if you look at the 5-minute, we are setting up a pretty decent looking bull flag here. Might need another 5 minutes or 10 minutes for it to actually resolve. But so far it's looking like it's a pretty good setup. We just need to see if it's going to continue making that formation, and then it'll break out into $1. That's the ideal price action. Let's see if we get it.
You can see that this has actually already taken another leg up here in the pre-market. That first bull flag actually resulted in a break higher. We'll see if we get that again here in the next one. All right, I see a number of you folks are mentioning Tesla. Remember, the Tesla delivery numbers did come out. Those deliveries were soft. We put that there on the screen for you. Tesla in the process of looking like it is trying to take the next leg lower. Sure does look like that 384 level I gave you so far has held. But let's see if that ends up breaking 13. Jay Harris says, hooey with my levels. What are the levels that you gave?
For Tesla?
Tesla, yeah.
Oh, I was just saying it wouldn't surprise me if this just went right for, the 50-day SMA. I think you might find some support between 350 and 360 if we end up getting down there. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if based on this news, this market just punishes the stock all the way down to the 50-day SMA, which it has been pretty extended away from. So a couple of reasons why it wouldn't surprise me if it went down there.
Yeah, now that 50-day moving average 10 points lower than a previous breakout area at 360 for Tesla there. So okay, we'll see where we get here. I would imagine at some point this selling is going to abate. So far 384 looks to be the spot. I'm just saying. We'll see if this holds up.
With a great data point here. First time in 10 years the numbers were soft for Tesla. So that change in trend is a big deal. It's a very big deal. When you have a 10-year long trend that changes like that, now hopefully it doesn't continue, but if it does, you're going to see a lot more selling, I would think.
Well, see, that's just the thing. Like, is this a blip or is this an actual change in trend? I think that part of the market's going to tell you they want more data for that, but it's a really good point there. If that does break a trend, yikes. We'll see, though. We'll see. Does it? I mean, part of me wants to say, I don't know. This might actually provide a buying opportunity in Tesla, but I'll let you know if I actually deploy some money there. Okay, good stuff there. MLGO, this is another one here. This actually moved on Tuesday. This is one that we talked about on New Year's Eve, really kind of broke down and was pretty poor in the trading day. MLGO, this is connection to Macau, so this is going to be Chinese gambling. It is curling up here today. It does look like it's trying to break out from 5. We'll see if it gets to 6. 6 we definitely had some resistance in it before, or resistance in that area before. We'll see if MLGO is able to take that out. Did you have anything here on MLGO?
Well, I can see in the pre-market here on the 5-minute chart that it is currently trying to hold above VWAP on some pretty, what I would say, low volume. So I would be concerned about it losing VWAP, and if it does, then I probably wouldn't want to touch this going into the open. I'd want to wait for this to maybe find a base before this. I started trading this. Not liking the low volume, not liking the way it looks weak here. If it loses VWAP and starts going lower, there are some demand zones like around 430 where you might get some support, but I think for me, I'd want to wait and see what this does going into the open, because I just don't like the way it looks at the moment.
Okay. Good stuff there on MLGO. Okay, another question here, or not a question, comment here that I wanted to highlight. I don't have a chart here for you, but Jay, good morning, Jay. Happy New Year. Happy 2025 to you. Thanks again for your support in 2024. And I'm glad that you joined us again here in 2025. Jay here mentioning $DXY is going to be your dollar index. The US dollar index here is a major headwind. That dollar actually has been very, very strong up here at about almost just shy of 109 on that index. So, this is good for our imports, bad for our exports. What are you trading this at all? Are you like when you say that this is a headwind? What stocks do you look at, or what does that tell you about some of the stocks that you're looking at? Yeah, get in there.
That might affect how much foreign investment comes into the market.
Sure.
So, and I know we've been getting a lot of foreign traders coming into the U.S. market because we're just so much more liquid. But this, to Jay Rice's point, that rising could make it harder for them to continue doing what they're doing.
Yeah, and I suppose it depends on how much business they do in the U.S., doesn't it? Because if they do a lot of business in the U.S., this is actually helpful for them. Whereas if they're just trying to break into our market, maybe not so much.
By the way, CTCX is starting to do that thing. Let's see if we get the follow through here. It's almost down to $1, but it did kind of shake out some of the weaker hands and start going green, and it made a new pre-market high. Still waiting to see if this goes over $1, but this is more or less the price action I was looking for here.
Okay, really good stuff. And actually, I'm going to shout out what the producer is putting here on screen. Be sure to vote in our poll 13. I'm actually going to vote in this right now. I know we can't do it from our end here, but I'm going to go to the stream and vote in this. Question again here is, will the SPY finish the year green or red? Remember, last year we had a record 57 new all-time high closes. Does the SPY finish green or red here? Be sure to get your vote in. I just voted. When those results come out, I'll tell you what I voted for.
Oh gosh, I don't even want to cast a vote. We just started this year.
Well, it's in your contract. You have to. So go ahead and cast a vote.
All right.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, of course. But but please vote in it. Please vote in it. Okay. Let's see. We've got a couple of minutes here. There was one stock that we got asked about that I promised that we would cover that I have not covered yet. We did do that with Tesla. We did not yet do that with Palantir. Okay. I got some thoughts here on Palantir. I'm going to try to make it brief because I know we're running out of time here. Palantir, probably one of the trades of 2024. Awesome stuff. I love the company. I love what they're in. I love the people that are connected to this company. I think that they're patriotic Americans and they're looking out for our best interest. I'm all about it. What I will say here is Palantir had a huge run in 2024. So what does the stage look like here for 2025? Now, I will say that I think cybersecurity or security just in general is going to make a big impact or is going to be front and center in 2025. And I think that's going to help Palantir. So ideally, what I would like here is maybe a pullback to the 60 area. I'd be a buyer there for a longer term swing here on Palantir. One of the big things that we talk about is the forward PE on this company and how jacked it actually is. We start the year here with a forward PE of 158. So I could totally understand. But look, I think that this is going to be a big segment. I like the company. I like the people involved in the company. I like Palantir. I'd be looking to add this on some pretty good support levels if we had it here. The first one that I'm waiting out, $60. Unsure if we'll get it, but that's one that I'm definitely waiting out. We'll see if we break this 84 high that we had here.
For me, when it comes to Palantir, I do believe this thing is okay. Well, I need to kind of front run this first. This is like everything you said. I agree with. This is going to be a great company. It is a great company. They're going to do a lot of great things for us. The valuations is what I have a problem with, and I feel like this is going to, probably
you're not alone.
This is probably going to have some valuation correction happen to it, which would be healthy for it, and would also provide us with some more opportunities. Now, when we get that movement, I can't say for sure, but one thing I'm watching for is a multi-day close beneath the 20-day SMA. The last couple of times we've had that happen, we got we got some closes beneath it, and then it was just recaptured. I want to see more of a I want to see multiple days of it being underneath the 20-day SMA and moving its way more towards the 50-day SMA, probably even lower than that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing still ended up getting cut in half. It would just create a great opportunity for us going long, but at the same time, it would also give it a little bit of more correct valuation. So I'm not going to be rushing in to get this yet, but I would think that as soon as we start losing some of these key moving averages, that it's going to probably accelerate to the downside and correct.
Yeah, I would like, I mean, look, I'd love for this to really kind of test some of these moving averages, because I really kind of feel like that would be almost like a reset here, and then I'm not chasing. We'll see if we end up getting that. Lions calling for 100 prints in 2025 on Palantir. So we'll see. We'll see on this one. I do like it, though. I do like it. Yes, thinking about it. That is the new name that we're going with here for 2025.
And Buffalo Bicycle, that's a great point, because Tom Nash has been all over that. So I agree. That he is a good one to follow, specifically for Palantir. That's especially if you're super bullish on it. It's a great mention. All right. Almost time.
Jay, this is awesome. Yeah, we are, 10 seconds here. Jay saying Kramer said on 12/20 that Palantir was going to 100 by the end of the year, which is what I bought puts. Oh, Jay, that's awesome stuff there. Okay.
Here we are. Welcome to the new year, everybody.
Welcome to the new year.
All right. What is looking good out of the gate here?
We shall see. Here's that CTCX. Mm-hmm. This looks like that's going for $1 here.
Yeah, I was trying to push up into the open, so maybe get a little bit of weakness, but yes, I'm still looking to see that push up to $1. There it is. Perfect.
Good morning, Deborah. Happy 2025. Thanks for joining us here again. Oh, don't we have poll results? Don't we have poll? Go ahead.
So CTCX just kind of ripping out the gate here. This has been a good one. This may end up halting. So that was a nice one. I'm glad that you guys were shouting at us about it, because it's done really well. Sorry if you guys hear some interference. I got the landscapers doing their thing right now.
You're good. Real quickly here, CTCX. That was a really good call there. I'll watch on this for when it opens. Really quickly, the results of the poll. We're done here. So super bullish for 2025. Results of the poll. Does 2025 finish the year red or green? 80% of you voted for green, with only 19% voting for red. Wow, really, really bullish there. You love to see it, folks. You absolutely love to see it. Okay, what else we got? Let's see how's Tesla doing after those delivery numbers, after the open. Let's take a look at Tesla here. Well, I'll tell you what, this did bounce. Okay, so first of all, sorry, a lot of thoughts going through.
You're excited. I love it, man. Let's go.
I'm super excited, dude. New year, new everything. First of all, the first call of the year that Tesla is going to hold at 384 in the pre-market, that was money. That produced a 12-point bounce, or a 13 or 11-point bounce here. So now it's rolling over. Let's see if it holds that 384 level again. It looks like this kind of wants to push lower here on Tesla, but one to watch there. It looks like 384 has already been held once today.
Yeah, so let's see. Like we said, CTCX, that's halted at 112. Kind of cycling through these other ones, looking for things that are interesting and setting up. Maybe ALCE get support from the 200 EMA that it's on right now. I'm not sure if this is where I'd want to pick it up, but I'm waiting to see if this would get some support from that 200 EMA on the 5-minute and start turning around and going back up towards 140. Let's see, there was another one, VSME. This one sold off out of the gate. It is now down at a support level of about 165, almost close to the 200 EMA. This could rebound here and recapture the VWAP, which I think we talked about earlier. Had a hard time about getting back above it. So VSME, I'm looking for a recapture of VWAP on this and a hold above it. There was another one.
Really quickly here, Rev B looks like this traded out of the gate right up to that 125 spot and stopped. It's coming back into the VWAP, so we'll see if we set up there. ONDS, for any of you that are following this, I know it's not a day trade here for me, but ONDS had a gigantic seller at 250 that the opening candle just ate here. We went as high as, 263. We're coming back in a little bit there, but oh my God, a seller got gobbled up. Humongous seller got gobbled up there. Okay, XPON. This is another one that we had on our list. This one was that really low float one. Was this not? This was, 539,000 shares in the float here on XPON. Look at that. VWAP recapture. We're above 4. We're above that 405 level. XPON. I'm not in this, damn it, but this is looking pretty good here. Spread only about 4 to 10 cents on XPON.
XPON, that looks like it's trying to get up to 450, take out that high.
Here we go. Wow, that was, man, I couldn't even get my order ready there. That move up was so quick.
AEI is recapturing a VWAP right now. This one's looking a little, it's getting a little strong. It's making its way through a supply zone. This might get going a little bit better once it gets through 270. Because it does have this supply zone created from the after hours price action, or pre-market, I guess. So that's something to watch for with AEI. If it gets to that, we could see some better movement. As far as Rev B goes, this one.
Sorry, my thing crashed. I'll fix it here. Keep going.
As far as Rev B goes, this one popped out overview up out of the gate, came back in. Now it's halted. If this continues to go down, I'd be looking at 90 cents as potentially a support level. All right, what else we got here?
AEI. Okay, so it looks like that went right to the VWAP. It's still kind of, testing this level here. We'll see if AEI can get rolling. Apple, a week out of the gate here. Bitcoin actually popped and came back in. Tesla continuing to print lower. 380 here. Let me actually go to that real quick. So that 384 level, Tesla, that's not a stock. Tesla, looks like that 384 level, good bounce there in the pre-market, but new lows now. Time to find the next level down here on Tesla. Looks like 380 maybe. I know you had, a 360? What was that target that you had earlier?
Between 350 and 360 is where I think we might find the support, and that's right about where the 50-day SMA is.
Okay, so maybe that's your next level here on Tesla. I'd watch maybe 372 in here. And if we look back at that 15-minute chart, this is kind of where we came from. Maybe, 372. Yeah, I'd say 370 to 372, probably your next near-term support. Looks like it's going there in a hurry. And then remember, 13 gave you a little bit more solid support there from the daily. So, okay. Tesla, hunting lower. Let me know if you folks take any trades on that. No trades yet for Tesla for me.
CTCX opened, popped to 118, and it came back in. Now it's halted to the downside, currently at $1. So here you go. I don't know if this was everything I was talking about with this one, but that was a pretty good move for an opening trade there. I don't know how much more we're going to get out of
that. Real quickly here, I think it was the graph. You were mentioning Tesla Q in the pre-market here. We already had Tesla on the list of things to talk about, which is why I didn't address that. Tesla Q is, of course, the 2X short Tesla ETF. If we talk about the underlying asset, sometimes I might skip over some of those ETFs. I'm absolutely not ignoring you. I'm just trying to get to as much news about different stocks as possible. I know you had mentioned this earlier. As Tesla continues to sell off here, this, of course, is trading to the upside. So good stuff on you if you have that one.
XPON back tested VWAP. That was a pretty good entry spot. Now it's trying to get to 450. I don't know if we're going to get that. Oh, that just went right back to VWAP.
Look at that nasty pull right back to VWAP.
This is going to whip around, but I don't know where it ends up. But it's got a lot of support at that 390 area from when it was trying to get above VWAP all morning. Let's see if that holds.
By the way, I'm seeing a mixture of calls and puts bought into this Tesla move lower here, but it looks like the majority of the contracts, at least that I'm seeing on the wire here, are puts. NEE, by the way, this is next. I know we were talking a little bit about NEP. which is Next Era Limited Partners. NEE here trading higher out of the open, albeit very, very low volume. Another really quick check in here, Unity. Remember, this was mentioned alongside with Roaring Kitty and his Rick James, Charlie Murphy skit tweet over New Year's. Unity popped. Those are off those highs here, but Unity might not be done for the day. Guys are mentioning that our cat is dumping hard.
Let these drone and quantum and space and let all these plays that we're running at the end of the year, let them all come in. We'll trade them again.
Yeah, I agree with you, 13. I think that's a really prudent approach, right? Some of these that were high flyers for us that are coming in now, if the theme does not evaporate, and to be clear, I don't think the drone theme is evaporating at all in 2025. Maybe we'll get some reset of some of these valuations and have a better opportunity to trade them. I think you're right on that. Let them come in, I think, is the takeaway there.
Yep. I don't want anybody getting hurt with these. I know that you're holding a lot of those, but this price action we've been getting, some of those, that price action needed to be sold into, because they're very, very extended runs. They will come back in, and they will present some weakness. When they do, that's when we want to pick them up.
ONDS, which I mentioned earlier. I know some of you guys were asking for levels here. I can try to give you some, but I just want to reiterate real quick. I'm not trading this stock. I am invested in this stock. I've been bag holding it for a while, and I've been doing a really good job of adding to this when it was really, really low, so that I'm actually doing fairly well now. If you want some levels, I'm going to try. Again, I'm not taking these as trades. 260 absolutely seems to be an upside level. This was a pre-market resistance area that we tested right out of the open there. As far as lows go, 230, which was your New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve low. If we take a look at the daily chart here, that New Year's Eve low of 230, I really don't want to see that broken. If we do, I think 2 is your next possible area of support. But again, I want to see ONDS trade back up above 3 in the near term. We'll see if we get that. Hopefully that helps with some of those levels there. CGBS looks like this is popping above $1. Looks like it got to 108 there, 110 your pre-market high.
Cooler really sold off.
Cooler sold off?
Mm-hmm. Had a nice big, had a pop out the gate, and then there's a big red candle. Not halted, by the way.
To the point that you were just making about making sure that you sell into some of these up moves, Cooler was another one. This thing, I feel like, went in pretty short order, went from like 50 cents to $4. And 13, I'm with you. A move like that, especially if it's short order, you're pretty prudent to take some gains and book some of those gains. RCAT, good dip buying. Okay, so Carmen here telling you that RCAT is a good dip buying opportunity here. We'll be holding a conference at some point this month, may very well turbocharge the price. Also, it's waiting on that NATO contract announcement. So there you go. There's definitely some, this is, again, fits into the drone theme here. I will say, Carmen, this is actually not a terrible spot to trade this for. About, I know you have a longer term time horizon on this, and I appreciate you being transparent with that. For a shorter term, if you're looking to maybe short-term trade this is a potential bounce spot. Not saying it's definitely going to bounce here, but I could see it. Let's see it here with RCAT down just shy of 7% here today.
I see how this is a good bounce spot here. I personally like $10 much better.
Okay.
Like way better. Okay. If we get down there, I think that would be a really good opportunity. You got the 20-day SMA right about that $10 level. I don't know why I put $10 here as a level I've a while back, but it stood out to me. It's been resistance and support since November. I think if we get support from $10, that's the opportunity right there. As a matter of fact, let me just draw a trend line here and give us an idea of where that would be. So this could happen. It could hit 10, if not today, maybe tomorrow or Monday, if we continue with the downside. That would be my guess.
Real quickly here, NVIDIA popped out of the open and then reversed. I'm also noticing here that the SPY is pulling. So those gains that we had evaporated. We're now even on the S&P futures. Dow futures down to being up only 0.3. Remember, that was up 0.6 earlier. And NASDAQ has gone green to red on that sell-off. Now we're about at flat here. So I don't need you guys to start breaking out the markets and turmoil gifts, but the NASDAQ here moving to the lows, green to red move on that. XPON held 350 so far. We actually talked about that level. We're actually getting a little bit of a bounce here. I'm not in it. AEI, this is another one that we talked about, really couldn't get above that VWAP, and now it's not breaking down. Maybe 220 would be a possible support level there. You could make a case for a level right here if it holds that as well. There was someone else in the chat here mentioning Hollow. You wanted to take a look at Hollow. Someone else mentioned that. Crow, I know you said Hollow was trying here. This is, of course, this stock now is just officially tied to 13. Hollow, YOLO, JOLO, that's what we call it here. Thanks to Lynn and Randy, having a lot of fun. This actually, to Crow's point here, if this can really kind of like build, get a volume pop through that VWAP, we've seen Hollow go nuts before. I don't think 7's out of the question if this can turn around.
Support levels for me in this one is going to be 575 and 530.
Okay.
So if we continue with the downside, that would be where I would be looking for reversals in the price action.
Okay.
If it continues to go down. So, you know, if we don't get those two levels, then it's probably going to be somewhere under 5, like maybe 450.
Okay. So we're getting here to a decision point, it seems like. SPCB, this is another one that we talked about recently. This had a huge run on Monday. Didn't really do a whole lot on that following Tuesday, but today getting jiggy here. Remember, this was a pretty low float, isn't it? Yeah, 1.41 million shares in the float here for Supercom, ticker SPCB. Looks like this is trying to take out 6. High print that we had from Monday was 814, so this thing can get juiced. FFIE getting mentioned. That's one that we talk a lot about here, or I guess one we see on the scanner a lot here. We've traded this a number of times. FFIE had a horrific day on New Year's Eve after being up in the pre-market. High volume green to red move there. Does look like it's trying to cross 3 here. I don't feel great about it at the moment.
You know, for as heavy of a float that Cooler has, it has some wild price action this morning. Jeez.
Anything worth noting here? Yeah. Oh wow, this is kind of wild. You know, it seems to me that this just traded down to the consolidation area from Tuesday.
There you go. That's definitely the demand zone. Absolutely. Good call.
Yeah.
So now here we are trying to get back above VWAP. Let's see what it does there. Looks like some of these that we were talking about this morning are going lower. We just mentioned XPON. That's going lower. Looks like $3 might be the next support area. VSME, that's kind of going sideways. Let's see if it gets support here. VRME is trying to rebound, still beneath VWAP. ALCE rebounding off the 200 EMA, trying to go to VWAP as well. ORIS popped and then dropped out of the open beneath VWAP and the 65 EMA. This one might end up going lower from the way it looks with this price action. We'll see.
Real quick here. Let me jump in here real quick. You know I'm going to love this. MODG, Top Golf, Callaway Brands here, up 17.5%. Top Golf, Callaway Brand shares trading higher after Jefferies upgraded the stock from hold to buy and raised its price target from 11 to 13. This I could totally see. Top Golf kind of being a theme. It does sure seem like golf is kind of proliferating. Jay, I know I'm part of the hashtag shrink the game. Sometimes it's hard to get on the golf course on the weekends, but Top Golf here, this stock having a nice little pump out of the gate here. NBIS, Jay, you're mentioning that. This is one of those Russian newer AI plays that we've talked about. Actually had some success with this one. This strong out of the gate on some pretty good volume here as well.
So great mention. Yeah, I was just saying, great mention. Zim's up about 8-9, almost 9% today. What's interesting is that we've got a bit of a rebound happening here.
While you break this down, BRB, 1 sec.
We got a bit of a rebound happening with shipping rates. It bounced in October and has been steadily rising up, and we're about at the same spot that we were a year ago at the same price, about $4,000 for per 40-foot container. So great mention. I think don't have a whole lot I can look at right now, but I do have 2380 as a level that I've had here for a while. So that could be potential resistance. We get through that, then we have 2630 as an upside target, but 2380, that's going to be the big level to get through today. Been previous resistance back in on June of 2024, July of 2024, and August of 2024 before it came back in to 16 and then ripped through it. So that'd be the level to watch for resistance or a breakout 2380 in Zim. What else? mRNA going. We're going to get some really speculative names to move in the beginning here. I don't know.
What did I miss? What I miss?
Oh, I just was covering Zim, and Captain Cloudy was mentioning mRNA was going. So I was just talking about how a lot of speculative things that might start get going, because I thought with mRNA that was kind of a little bit unfavorable with the incoming Health and Human Services Secretary.
Yeah, that actually had a pretty poor year in 2024, didn't it?
I'm
pretty sure that was one of your S&P laggards.
Maybe that's why it's doing much better, because it was it did so bad. Let's see, mRNA. Let me just take a look. Hold on. Let me just take a look and see what the daily chart's telling us. Maybe there's a reason. Oh gosh, actually, this is not a bad curl. Daily chart showing that it did absolutely get hammered. I didn't realize Moderna was down this low.
Yeah, it looks like, so I'm trying to eyeball this here. Looks like 115-ish down to where we were here. Looks like this was down almost 65% in 2024, thereabouts. I'm just kind of ballparking it from the measuring tool here.
Yeah, we're about to the price it was just as the pandemic started getting underway, in 2020.
Yeah. NXL getting mentioned here. Ashan, NXL. Looks like, this is actually curling here after a decent pre-market. Getting a weird read on my VWAP here. Not familiar with this one, but this actually, maybe this continues here. What does this do? NXL? Nexalin? Innovative neurostimulation products. This is targeted for the mental health epidemic. This is an interesting mention, because I think mental health is, I think the treatment for mental health is going to proliferate. Frankly, I think it has to, right? Just looking at some of the stuff that happened on New Year's. I mean, there's clearly a mental health crisis going on in this country. So I wouldn't be surprised if this also kind of became a theme. I'm not familiar with NXL here. It's not one that I've really done any work on or anything like that, but I appreciate you bringing this up. I'll look into this.
You say that, and the first thing I think about is, well, he was an Army vet, and the VA is absolutely terrible at getting our vets the help they need.
Yep.
So I think, like I kept saying about where the Department of Government Efficiency could go first, it would be the low hanging fruit. I think there's no more low hanging fruit than the VA. So that would be my top target if I was heading that department. Might not be for them, but I think it's definitely on their radar, because that is such an inefficient government body.
Yeah, that's a really good point there, 13. And but that's actually one of the connections between both of the events yesterday. Both people had former military experience. In fact, both people served in the same base. I don't have the data in front of me, so I don't want to misquote it, but that is your connection there. Nonetheless, SPCB, this popping here as well. Looks like AEI broke down a little bit.
It did rebound at 192. Still has to get through some of these EMAs and VWAP. VWAP currently is at 230, almost 231. So we'll see if it can get up there. Now, keep in mind, the last time, actually, when we opened, we popped up to over VWAP, created some upper shadows, and came back in. So this next trip up could be a better round, but just keep in mind that this is these upper shadows were created because there's a lot of consolidation from the pre-market between 230 and 275. What else is making some moves here this morning? How's Tesla looking now?
Dollar still at the highs there. It looks like it was testing 109. We mentioned the dollar a little bit earlier. Here is your Tesla chart here. It looks like this did bounce off of what? Where did we bounce? How low did we go here? I got 373.
Really?
I think, unless that
That's
here, let me
that
turn
happened
this
quick.
Let me turn this volume off.
Yeah, that happened quick.
373 and a half. And you're absolutely right. 13 happened real fast. Look at that V recovery.
Yeah. Still hasn't. I mean, the MACD suggests that this is trying to turn around. Let's see if that follows through. And if it does, I think we would need to see this trade back up above 395.
No, I don't think, David, I don't think he's trying to blame it on the VA. That's not what we're doing here. What 13 was saying about the VA is completely separate from the incidents that took place yesterday. It's completely disconnected. I was just mentioning that it's more that I don't believe in coincidences. So I was just kind of tying the mental health thing together. Just to be very, very clear, I don't think either of those events yesterday are to be blamed on the VA.
No, I am absolutely not saying that.
I knew you weren't. I just wanted to
I'm saying the VA has been absolutely inefficient in getting our vets the help they need. And when we had these issues happen yesterday or over the holiday, that's the first thing my mind went is just how bad the VA is at getting our vets the help they need. And it just kind of made me connect these two and think, well, if he got more help or if our VA was better, something like this might not have happened. But I was more about the fact that the VA is an inefficient government body and doesn't get the help to the vets that we need. And that's why I think we could see the Department of Government Efficiency go after that as low-hanging fruit.
Yeah,
that's what I was saying.
Two separate things there that we just kind of spoke back to back on, not 100% related. But I appreciate you mentioning that because, look, if we made that mistake, I don't want anyone to walk away with us thinking we made that mistake. No. CTCX getting mentioned here by the chatters, really good stuff. This is actually traded back up near the intraday high already put in. It is halted again to the upside here on CTCX.
Oh, wow, nice.
Yeah, Carmen, that's awesome. I know Carmen's giving you the opposite side of that. Carmen saying your aunt got great support from the VA. It's not as if they don't do some great work there. That's awesome. But there's other people having different experiences than that. That is for sure. Sorry, my thing crashed again. Let me go ahead and load it up.
No problem. Ooh. B looks like that's trying to turn around. No, Carmen. I based on what you just said, that's fine, and I'm glad that she's getting the help that she needs. That hasn't been my experience based on former military that I've, not just in that I've talked to, but also with family.
Yeah,
maybe just different parts of the country too.
Yeah, and I mean it's totally different. There's tons and tons and tons and tons of interviews of former veterans that say the same thing. So again, I maybe we shouldn't have talked about both of those stories too close together. My intention was not to tie them together.
Right.
Okay, ASNS. This is actually one that we talked about recently here. This looks like it might be curling back up. Yeah, we did. We talked about this on New Year's Eve. This was a massive disappointment. It was the black sheep of those smaller stocks, it seems. Hollows, is it going? Is it doing a thing?
Uh-huh.
I'm not in it. Okay, so there was a move on VWAP, a move above VWAP on volume here. Looks like 650 going to be your next key level if we can take that out.
Oh, gosh. So CTCX, you said it was suspended. MLGO, that is trying to turn around. That has been getting some pretty decent support.
Which was EVGO?
MLGO.
MLGO. I'm sorry.
Lunar's going. Awesome.
You know, a lot of these on the list here, the ones we were talking, I can't even believe I'm about to say this, but of all of the ones that we discussed early, Hollow has given the best move so far. DSME, this might still go here. I guess APM, maybe that one gave the best. I wasn't on this one early though. AEI, this continuing to break down. AEI might be done here, folks.
Let's see, where's that at?
XPON flagging lower here. This was the really low float one. Be careful with XPON. Happy New Year, Captain Stone Crab. Love that name. SPCB, look at this. So this is ripping here. Another Andy special. This was another one. By the way, folks, for those of you that are not involved, when we talk about Andy special, in our happy hour, we often discuss stocks that could make moves recently or soon. And SPCB was one that was mentioned here, I think in the 3s. This popping now above 7.
So that's already a 2x. Looks like Hollow found some resistance at about 645, 646. Came back in a little bit, still above VWAP.
NRXP, this one actually looking pretty interesting. This had a nice little pop, tried to go higher here, but it's consolidating and building above the VWAP. So this is one of the things I really like to see, right? Consistent trading above the VWAP. That might actually set up for another move higher here. I would put 280 as a target if it can keep going.
Could have sworn I had more on my list today, but it doesn't seem like any of the ones that we talked about are really doing all that well.
No. And actually just kind of looking at the market here real quick, because that was doing well. Okay, so that rebounded here. So S&P futures bouncing here. In fact, I'm going to bring up the SPY chart while I do this rundown here real quick, 13. S&P futures chart bouncing here. We're up 0.6 on the S&P futures. Dow futures up 0.7. And the NASDAQ, which went green to red earlier, has now gone back to green and up 0.75%. So looks like that is holding in here. Bitcoin also higher here. Looks like an attempt to move at 100K is on deck here. Oil, remember we talked about that being strong this morning. That is continuing its strength. Oil up now 2.25% here this morning. Apple's bouncing. Netflix is bouncing. So it looks like some of that earlier weakness, it looks like some of the earlier strength has returned after a brief period of weakness. Easy for me to say.
SPY bounced right off of that 586.12 previous all-time high. Actually came with about 7 cents from it, but pretty close nonetheless.
Chris here mentioning any thoughts on B-Fly, which is Butterfly Network. This is not one that I have a long-term view on, Chris. We have traded this one off the scanner before. This stock is absolutely ripping here this morning, plus 25% here on BFLY. I didn't see any news here. It looks like it got a buy rating from TD Cowen. That must have been right on New Year's Eve. That news was released here on New Year's Day. So this looks like this might be moving here on an upgrade. Really quickly, digital health business transforming care with handheld whole body ultrasound. You know, I wonder, 13, you talked a little bit about medical devices being somewhat of a theme. I almost wonder if something like B-Fly would fit into that.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, so there. Hi, Kitty. What are you doing here?
While you were talking, I saw somebody had mentioned that it was halted, but we had CTCX open. It popped up to 120, and then it came right back in and halted.
So CTCX. So here you go. Penny stock doing everything it can to hold on to that dollar level here. CTCX. Did anyone have any decent trades with this? Looks like we got a double top here about 120.
I don't have
XPON is trying, Jane?
Yeah, it looks like this is trying to come back up, but keep in mind, the pre-market consolidation now is a supply zone that could make it harder to get up and through VWAP. We would have to see some expansion of volume. So unless we get that, we might see it's going to be hard for the price to get back above VWAP and go. Would like to see this one move up as well, but that's one thing that we need to keep in mind of is this all these bag holders here that are going to probably want to get out as the price approaches VWAP.
It does look like things are starting to firm up here. Lion has said everything is bouncing, LOL. A lot is bouncing here. As mentioned, Netflix, Apple, Amazon. Amazon, actually, where's Izzy at? Izzy's been all over Amazon recently. Amazon here, more new highs here today. 124. What is the recent high that we need to take out here? Okay, 128 and or 128, 228 and 232 look to be the next upside levels here on Amazon if you're interested in that one. NBIS, we talked about that earlier. Looked like that stopped at 30 and pulled back here. And then Tesla bounced right back to 390, and that's turning over. So we'll see if Tesla can go. APM getting mentioned here in the chat. APM, wow. This is a good one. Or this is at least good movement. Boy, I'm not in any of the good movers yet here today. 13. I gotta make an adjustment here. APM trading up. Volume looking really, really good here. I feel like I missed this move, so I'm not going to chase it. What's nice to be green on the year for once. Super. I think that you're making a joke there. Our goal is to have all of us here green for more than just one day of the year. But hey, celebrate when you can, right?
Crow, if it does go, it looks like it's going to do it on a break over 650.
Which one? Which Hollow? Let me bring that up here. Hollow's been one we've been kind of on. Is it not on my scanner list? Holy smokes!
Well, it's like.
Oh, it was trading down. Yeah, it has to be. It has to occur. So for something to make my scanner list, because of that change percent 1M filter, it has to be going up actively. Hollow pulled back just a little bit off that high, which is why I didn't see it. We will see it here again when it curls. Ondis, by the way, huge spot, just got gobbled up again. In fact, you can see it here with the. I'll tell you what, folks. I love seeing this. Again, I have more of a long-term view on this. I'm not trying to sell this if this runs 30 cents here, but these big volume moves like this is what I want to see. We just took out a huge seller at 259. Let's see if Ondis can move higher here. Giddy up.
Yeah, I'm also keeping an eye on HNST.
Honesty. Okay.
The volume's crap on this, but the setup is pretty decent. It looks like it's trying to take out 718, and then I don't know what happens after that. But just it was something I was cycling through and I noticed. So maybe keep an eye on it, see if it does anything like that.
Nathan, interesting call. So Nathan here, good morning and happy new year, Nathan. Short Amazon right here at 224. So first of all, Nathan, I don't hate this idea. I like Amazon. I'm bullish Amazon long term, but we had a nice little push right into a previous area of resistance. You might actually get a regression back to the mean here on that short. I'm not going to follow you into that, but I don't hate it right here. Let me know what your stop is on that. A VIX check. Sure, VIX melted here. We spiked a little bit out of the open, but we completely gave that back. VIX sitting at 1717 right now.
That's not a bad call on Amazon. It's since December 24th, this has been selling off and has created a bit of a bear flag. And if it doesn't recapture the 20-day SMA, which is currently at 225.32, then I think this does go lower. It could end up going to 215, maybe even 210. But this price action we've been getting over the past 5 trading days doesn't look great. So doesn't seem like a bad idea to short.
Yeah, no, I like it. That's not a call that it's not like a type of trade that we normally do here. So I love that you are identifying it and mentioning it. I kind of see, let me know, maybe you have a different part of your trade plan or thesis that I didn't mention right there, but at quick glance, didn't look terrible. CTCX, this opened up here, still flirting with $1 right now. I'm not in this. I'm not trading this one.
Yeah, it seems like every time it makes this an unhalting pop up and over 115, it just comes right back in. That's been what it's done twice already.
Yeah.
Today. So if this trades up really fast and halts again, likely what's going to happen next is that when we unhalt, it's going to do another pop and drop. Now maybe that doesn't happen, maybe it does, but so far it's done it twice already today.
Real quick, Raj, this is a good question. And, I know we talk about big sellers, big buyers. Maybe we don't spend enough time on it. I think this is an excellent question that I'll address right now. You're using ONDS as the example because I was just speaking about it, but this is on a lot of different stocks that we talk about, to be honest. I'm just trying to understand how a big seller at 260 helps the stock go up. Don't we want a big buyer at 260? I'm just trying to understand. So again, really good question. Yes. I'm going to take the second part of your question here first. Don't we want a big buyer? Yes. Frankly, we want big buyers at every price in the stocks that we're long in, because that should, in theory, help send it higher. So yes, of course, we want a big buyer there. But the first part of your question here, how does a big seller at 260 help the stock go up? The big seller got eaten. All of that stock that was sitting there for sale, someone was saying, I want to sell this. And there was someone on the other end of that transaction saying, okay, I'm going to buy that from you. That's buying demand. That's what I'm talking. If that seller sat there at 260 and never really got hit or never really got taken out, I would agree with you. That's bearish, right? That represents an upside resistance level that the stock is just not able to get through. But when the stock is able to buy that up, oh man, that's absolutely bullish. In some cases, especially for some of these day trading names, we actually see the stock pop through some of those areas. Now, we didn't see that here on OMDS, but again, huge volume candle, a big seller saying, I want out, and buyer saying, I'll take that price. No problem.
And it's just a matter of demand exceeding supply at that point.
Yep. And David is fundamentally hitting it right here on the head. If there's a seller, there's a buyer. We are in a zero-sum market. So what that means is that for every seller, there must also be a buyer. There's other contextual clues that we can get in there. The one that I'm leaning on here is, hey, there was someone that wanted to sell and the demand was just so great. Like 13 said, when the buying demand exceeds the selling, demand, the stock for sale available, the stock price goes higher. That's what I was referring to. It's a really good question, though. Time to sell houses. Good luck, all. Hustle and bustle. Let us know. Let me know if you have any kind of context on how the housing market is doing. I'd love to hear from industry vets on all that stuff. Good luck today. Have a great one. Happy New Year.
Yep. Take care, man. All right. Well, it looks like Cooler's trying to recover. Honest Company's still slowly making that move to 718. Just watching that one, not doing anything with it. Looks like Rev B continues to get hammered. AEI, same thing, although that might be trying to find some support. ORIS is looking like it's rebounding after getting support from the 200 EMA, but it has a ways to go before it gets back above VWAP. ALCE, ever since it's opened, it had one brief stint near one or above 150, and it came back and went sideways. So we lose. I mean, this could end up losing $1, but it still is holding above it. But I don't know what to expect out of ALCE right now. VRME, also getting support from the 200 EMA, still needs to get back above VWAP at 193. XPON with a steady decline down. Maybe it gets support at the 65 EMA on the 5-minute. VSME is still holding up around the 160s. But if we lose 160, then I think this could end up going down to 140. And here we go with CTCX. I think this just come out of a halt?
No, that was a little bit ago.
Okay.
Well, when I say a little bit, I mean like 5 minutes. Like it really wasn't. Let's see. This was resumed at 10:04. It's 10:10.
Okay.
So 6 minutes.
Okay.
There we go. This does look like this is curling and going higher here.
Yeah, it just got it just got the dollar level chewed up. There was a bunch of buyers there that got filled. So that is a case where the supply exceeded the demand.
Jay here, SPCB. I used to own 20K of that garbage. Jeez. Okay, so I'm not laughing at you, Jay. I'm actually laughing with you because I've had this too, man. I've been holding stocks that are like kind of junky stocks. You think they can go, whether it's a catalyst, place in the chart, something going on there, and it just doesn't. You end up selling it, and then all of a sudden it goes, and you're like, oh, geez, I had a ton of that. This would have been a great day if I still had 20K shares from $3. That would have been awesome. This is just how it goes with some of these names. And this is also why I try and distinguish all of the time whether or not I'm trading something that I'm willing to hold overnight versus something that I'm just trying to capture some movement in. SPCB, this would have been something that I'm just not even really willing to hold overnight. So I would have missed this too, frankly.
So now VSME is losing that about 160, and low is 154 now. Still looks like it could go as low as 138, 140. All right.
I talked to so I love this. God, Jay, I want to hear more about stuff where you're doing this. Jay, SPCB, I talk to the CEO every quarter and I lost faith. Jay, the reason that I'm highlighting this, and 13, I'm sorry for jumping in front of you here, but you'll appreciate this. The reason I'm highlighting this is because a lot of the stuff that we discuss in happy hour is stuff exactly like this. Some of these private equity veterans or these former analysts I'm talking to you about, they actually talk to the people at the company. The company will talk to potential investors if you call them or if you call their investor relations team. So Jay here, this seems to me like this is another speculative play that you were in. You were following up with company management. This is due diligence at its finest. This is exactly what we should be doing as traders. Frankly, I don't do this enough. I should be doing this more. But that, so you just kind of lost faith and now it kind of turns around. And to be fair, this might just kind of be like a volume pop or something, right? This might not be anything great with the company, but really good stuff. Jay, I'm interested. Anytime you're talking to a company, I'm interested in that information. If you want to share it here, you're more than welcome. And that goes for anyone else that's doing the same type of thing, by the way. Sorry for the rant there, 13.
Hey, no problem.
I'm caffeinated. Oh, by the way, just another real quick kind of follow-up lesson to what we were just talking about with the why is a seller at a certain spot a bullish thing? This is what I'm talking about. Raj, if you're still around, check this out. That seller that was sitting at 260 was really compressing the price most of the morning. Look what the price has done since we moved through it. This is why it's bullish. When you take out a resistance area, when you take out somebody that's holding the price down, that means there might be some more upside there on that supply and demand relationship that 13 talked about. ONDS is doing the thing for you right now. So
VSME almost at that support area that I mentioned. This thing just kind of beelined right to it almost.
Oh my God, this looks like a TLC situation here. We got waterfalls. And you shouldn't be chasing them. Stick to the rivers. All right. XPON. Look, I'm trying to save this here. XPON. This also at the lows here. Remember, this is the one with the super low float that we thought really might be good here. Yeah. Disappointment so far here today.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep an eye on what it does here with these EMAs because this one did look like it had a lot of promise.
Yeah, it did. CTCX, that one that we were just watching, we actually just lost $1 here, but we're not breaking down anymore. So maybe we'll recapture that dollar level.
If it loses 85 cents, this thing's probably going down into the low 70s, high 60s.
Scapegoat. I'm glad you like that. Brian, stay away from the cliffs, though. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
To stay away from the cliffs, both real cliffs and fiscal cliffs. We'll stay away from all of them.
Do you fancy yourself a base jumper?
It's a matter of fact, I don't really care much for heights, so no. I'll give you 2 nickels to sing that. No one wants to hear me sing. That much I can say for sure.
With the music video in the background.
Oh, God. Oh, 90s music videos in the background of me singing. I am horrified. I'm horrified.
Yeah, we're going to see really crappy CGI and everything.
That reminds me of the Baylor Mendy Tinnick Ton video that we joked about. That you want to talk about bad CGI?
I don't care about the CGI. That's just a banger of a song,
dude. I'll admit to you right now, I had that on multiple playlists when I was younger. Multiple, not just one, multiple. I'm with you on that. Rev B, we're going lower here. SPCB, this pulled back. This actually might set up for a trade if it holds VWAP. I'm not saying it's going to hold VWAP, but if it does, we might have a trade there. Unity, remember, this is the one we talked about earlier this morning. Unity was mentioned in that Keith Gill tweet, right? The Roaring Kitty, or I guess it's being hyped up with that. Hey, Alyssa. Happy
Alyssa.
New Year, Alyssa. And I love what she's doing here. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Will be stuck in my head all day. Look, I didn't try to do that, but now that you told me that I did that, can't say that I'm terribly disappointed. Sorry about that. Happy New Year, Alyssa, to you and Andy. I hope that you folks are doing well.
You're watching Stuck in the 90s with Ryan and 13. So
also here, so this is another theme. I have no position in this yet, but I might as well discuss this. Goldman Sachs here trading up by almost 2%. I think that we've talked a little bit about this. Tim Melvin talked a little bit about this as well as far as it pertains to banks. We do think that M&A is going to tick up this year. I think that's going to tick up in both just the bank stocks, but also just regular stocks or regular companies, if you will, as well. And as a result, I think investment banking might be a decent theme of 2025. Actually, one of my stock mentors released his themes or several stocks that he's looking at yesterday, and several of those stocks are the same stocks that I'm looking at. One of them that he really likes is Goldman Sachs specifically for this. So I don't have a position here. I definitely would like to build something here in the mergers and acquisition space. Goldman Sachs would be a real good way to play that. This is up here, so we'll see if this continues this year. I'll update you if I open a position on that.
Yeah, banking deregulations, the theme for this administration with the full support of Congress.
ICG, this is different than IGC, right?
And when I say full support of Congress, it means that pretty much one party's in charge and there's nothing the other one can do about it.
Yeah, okay. So, sorry. IGC, this is a former kind of scammy stock that likes to run with a bunch of other stuff. ICG, Int Chains, I don't know what this is, halted to the upside on volume. What is this? Integrated solutions consisting of high-performance ASIC chips. Sorry, go ahead, 13.
As far as space stocks go, today we have... Mostly it's just three that are down. There's some that are teetering on the edge of neutral, but XIII Space, that's down pretty heavily today. Rocket Lab down about 2%, and MDA Space, that down just under 2%. Those everything else is having a good day, especially so VSAT has been one I've been waiting for this to get some movement. Let me see what the news is on here, but all the other ones that you were mentioning, Lunar, that's having a good day. ASTS kind of having a decent day, up almost 4%. Space still looking pretty good. It's still going to be a strong theme this year, especially with the number of launches we have planned. It's going to be a record year for launches globally.
Awesome. There's awesome stuff going on all over this show right now. And I just want to take a second here to thank all of you and recognize all of your awesomeness. Tom, you're next on the list here. JP Morgan reports earnings on January 15th. Maybe we can pick Anne-Marie's brain for a play here. Yes, we can. And you know what else? We might also hear, JPM doesn't do a whole lot of investment banking. They're more of like a depositor bank here, but maybe we'll learn something from that. I'm going to add this to the list. And by the way, I did check in with Anne-Marie. I think I asked her on Tuesday here on camera. As far as I know, right now, we are definitely having an option show tomorrow. So I'll let you know if that changes by tomorrow, but we should be on deck for that. And Tom, I will go ahead and add JPM to the list. So you got it, boss. Also, I wanted to really quickly mention this. I saw that Jay mentioned this earlier. I kind of went through it pretty quickly, and I never touched on it, and I'm sorry about that. But now that Tony has also brought it up, it's worth talking about. MDB here, ticker MDB, which is Mongo database. It's up big today. It's up 5% here today, which is a pretty decent move for this stock. This in 2024, this was definitely a pretty big loser. You can see here the early part of 2024, stock was like $400. So we've been cut in half by quite a bit. Recently, it does look like this $215, $220 area has provided some pretty decent support. We actually did trade up and close this gap before moving back down, but we held this same area here. So part of me wonders if this is not a bad swing for 2025. Full disclosure, we actually use some of Mongo databases services here at Benzinga, so I'm familiar with a little bit here with the product, although I don't have any direct interaction with this. This chart, interesting to me for 2025. I have no position on it, but I've noticed a number of you are mentioning this now, so not surprised.
CEO protection unit, just as long as everyone remembers that we're already out in the middle of space.
We are. We're on that giant blue ball that keeps us safe.
Yep, going around an even larger, brighter ball, going around and a whole cluster of balls going up and down and through the galaxy at hundreds of thousands of miles per second. Great time to be alive.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Tom here saying that Anne-Marie. Whoa, no, I didn't. No, wait. Sorry, I got some weird contextual menu there, Tom, and I didn't want to misclick. Her last JP Morgan's earnings play was an extreme hit. It did extremely well. Maybe we can go 2 for 2 on that. We're definitely going to ask her.
What do you think happens as soon as we start getting these earnings? Because I feel like we're going to get some bad news this earnings cycle.
Well, that's really the $64,000 question, isn't it, 13? And I'm glad that you asked that, because we might as well have the group start thinking about that. The way I would summarize this, 13, is does this upcoming earnings season represent the catalyst for a downward move in the market? That's kind of like the bigger contextual thing, right? If these earnings are weak and we maybe start to dissipate a little bit, could that really then set the stage for a down move in 2025? And I think one of the things that we'll be able to do is we'll be able to or go over some of these earnings reports and see if there's any commonalities or trends that we can extract from that.
No idea what AI walked in on. Look, we're talking about celestial bodies, Wisdom. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Yeah, I was going to say, you missed the first part of that there where he said he walked in and you were talking about balls.
I know.
I know. But LOL here. All right, I'm going to try to get back here. NITO, by the way, for any of you penny players, NITO is probably the best penny mover of the day. Certainly looks better than CTCX, which has now lost the VWAP there. ICG, did this open and rehalt? Yeah, it did. ICG opened, rehalted higher here. No position on this one for me. XPON looks disappointing. ALCE is disappointing. APM, this is continuing. This volume also looking pretty good here at APM.
Now, here's the thing with Tesla. If we get support where at this 180 level like we've got at the moment, and it continues to trade up and moves up and through 390, that could be a pretty, maybe 395. Somewhere, if it can get through both those levels, that would be very, very bullish. I think it could easily recapture 400 and go higher.
And you know what I like here, 13, just in conjunction with what you were just mentioning there? Higher low on the intraday chart here. So we had that first move down. We bounced pretty nicely, and we tried to roll over again in the process, losing VWAP, but now we've made a higher low. I'm with you here, 13. I think the next move here is higher on Tesla.
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
It looks like VRME is trying to recapture VWAP. That could be good.
LGHL penny stock popping towards the highs here. Watch for a 30 breakout. Which was that one? VRME?
VRME. Yep. Verify me.
Got you. Ooh, good one.
Yeah. Something to watch for there.
That's a nice little curl. I think this probably goes back to the VWAP here.
Lots of these weak names that we observed this morning are starting to look a little bit better. Yeah. AEI is, it hasn't completely reversed yet, but it looks like it's starting to get some support as if it's trying to. So some of these names, it's just worth keeping an eye on. Maybe they do end up pushing higher. VRME, one of those ones that are doing exactly that. Looks like not VSME yet. XPON, maybe. AE, I already said that one. ORIS didn't quite get it the first time. Maybe this time it does. ALCE, another one. Rev B, possibly as well. Some of these are starting to turn around, it looks like. So maybe we get some upside trades happening here. Quick scalps and AVGO. How's that looking today? Because that's one I want to pick up. I want to pick this one up for a longer term hold.
Hey, tell me about that.
Broadcom?
Oh, I thought it was EVGO. Never. Okay, Broadcom. That's sorry, 30.
No, we know why I like that one. Yeah. So this is if I was gonna pick up one of those big semi names, because man, this has got such a great setup too. Like it looks like it's ready to go any day. I don't know if it will, but it just has that setup. Like it just popped up, did the bull pennant consolidation. Seems like any day it's just going to send it. I don't know on what news, or what the situation would be. Doesn't seem like we have earnings for time, so don't think it'll be from when they report earnings. Maybe if another company reports earnings. Yeah, they don't report until March. But I
Yeah,
just like
I'm
it.
with you. I'm with you on this chart formation, man. This, I'll tell you what, this looks like a 250 break higher is coming, dude. I'm with you.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I'm going to get into it, it's either going to be soon, or if it doesn't do the breakout, because I also see how the MACD is rolling over, and the RSI is a little high, so there could be some weakness. But it's just one I want to own for over a year. I just need to be. I just don't really have a good entry for this yet. Maybe 220. I just don't. It just had a big pop at the end of the year, and I'm just not sure I want to buy into where it popped at. But I feel like at the same time, if I don't, that I'll get left behind. So I need to do a little bit more work on where I'm going to enter this.
To your point here, the 220, 225 area, if it stays in this area, this continues to compress here. That to me just bolsters our thought for another break higher here of 250. So, Brian, to answer your question, I know you asked 13. I'm sure he'll give them to you here in a sec. Some levels that I'd be looking at here on AVGO Broadcom, definitely 250. I wouldn't even put too much stock into this 247 area. Oh my gosh, my thing. I have way too many browser tabs open here, 13. This is entirely my fault. Let me go ahead and bring this back up. But basically, Brian, just to answer your question here, this 247 area, I wouldn't put too much stock into that, to be quite honest with you. No pun intended there, by the way. 250 definitely seems to be the breakout spot. And then I really like 13's downside target here of 220. This would actually also represent this last recent move down here made a low at 218. So if we had 220 here, this actually represent a higher low on that pullback. Maybe that would help reset some of the RSI there.
Yeah, and then Carmen was also mentioning EVGO, and I agree with her assessment. I mean, I'm looking at the price action, and it just has been kind of getting some support here from the 500 and 200 daily SMAs. MACD is curling. RSI is super low at 31.29. It's got a lot of technical setups here. It looks pretty good. Now, if I do a trend line here, dang it. If I do a trend line from the October 25th high and draw it through the December 10th high, that gives us a bit of a trend line to watch for. So we could, and the 50 is right on that trend line right now. If we start taking out the 20-day SMA, that might be our indication that this is going to try and break the trend and take out the 50-day SMA as well.
Okay, you also might have a potential gap fill up here to almost $6 if we turn around and curl off this area. So you know what? I think I'm with you both on this one too. I kind of like where this chart is at, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Carmen. All right. Now, what else do we have to look at here?
Looks like a couple of you are mentioning some stocks here. LGHL, that was the penny that Ashan mentioned earlier. Is that still ripping? I don't. This
Line group.
Which
line group? That's LGHL.
Okay.
Did this have? Oh, this is a Chinese company.
Yep. And the volume sticks continuing to expand here. So, I like that. This pullback area, if it holds here, may be a spot, but I'm going to pass on the penny stocks for the first day of the year here.
Okay. So what's happening with this is that there was news after the market had closed the regular session on Tuesday, and it is over the annual meeting that the company had with its shareholders, and they approved key proposals. So you go and you look at what those proposals were that were approved, you'll understand why this is moving. Because we didn't get any regular session price action from the time that information came out until today.
By the way, dollar printing more new highs here. That dollar index, $DXY, 109.12 as your high here. That continuing to push higher. Remember, we discussed that as potential headwinds and that being poor for emerging markets.
Fairchild, that's a great comment, because that's kind of what I was feeling like today. Like we were getting some good movement, but not the follow through on these breakouts that we are used to seeing. And I know we've said that a lot going into the end of the year, but new year, new slate. Everybody's losses and everything are all booked from last year. I could see more losses being taken at the start, but I felt like I would feel like at least at the beginning of the year, people would be more speculative before the reality set in later on this month. And I think the reality is going to be starting to set in towards the halfway point of this month.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm laughing at a side comment there. I'll get to it here in a sec. But to the main crux of what you were discussing there, I think you're spot on across the board. I'm in the exact same position that you are, 13, and kind of look and Fairchild, I guess, looking at the SPY here today. The market seems cautious too, right? Like we were higher. We had green arrows across the board when we woke up. Okay, new year, everything's great, feeling great. Right out of the open, we sold off. The buyers stepped back in and said, "Hey, I'm gonna buy the dipper, and I'm still in charge here." And now we sold off again to lows. Now, granted, we did make a higher low, just sticking with that theme, but it does seem like the market also kind of waiting it out here. Waiting it out here. Daniel, by the way, why I was laughing is because Daniel he's just up on it with the jokes. He said that NITO, which has been a penny stock all morning, is no longer a penny stock. So now it's acceptable for me to look at it. Daniel, +1 there on the, you get a 1 up there on the joke. That's actually pretty good. We did mention this earlier here. This has been a pretty good move. I'm still not going to trade it, even though it's above $1, but this has been a nice move here. The one thing to take a note, if we move back towards the VWAP on this, as long as this volume sticks around, this actually might be good for another trade here. Voodoo, good morning. Happy 2025. Happy New Year. Wishing you a prosperous 2025. I posted earlier, market today reminds me of quicksand. Yeah, in the price action, it's still early in the day, so maybe that we'll see how this shapes out, but it does kind of look, maybe we slowly sink here. I'm with you on that, Voodoo. Glad you're here joining us for 2025. Jay Walker, what level are you in Tarkov, boss? We just had the wipe, dude. It's one of the best wipes in years, too.
Still waiting for AEI to move away from this basing that it's doing. I don't know how long that's going to take. Still seeing some of these other names that got hammered this morning starting to curl. So we'll be getting some setups here pretty soon. Hopefully before this show's over, we can start getting some more of that follow through that we haven't had yet. VRME is back above its VWAP again, or at least my VWAP. That looks like this could be one of the ones that starts to get going again. Needs to get over $2 though, I think.
QSI mentioned here by Robert. Happy New Year to you, Robert. Good to see you again. Thanks for all of your support in 2024. Look forward to 2025. Mentioning QSI here. QSI up 25%. This was we didn't have anything in the pre-market that we were kind of looking at. I know this is one of the quantum names. We dipped a little bit, and boy, did we bounce. We have bounced almost a full $1 here so far on this $3 stock on QSI. Part of me makes me wonder, what does the rest of the quantum names look like? Oh my God, they're all fairly similar. It looks like quantum took a dip out of the open here, and the buyer stepped in and said, this quantum theme ain't over. All of these charts look the same, folks. IONQ might be a little bit more of the, IONQ might be a little bit more on the weaker side than some of these other names, but all of these charts looking very, very similar. Quantum took a dip out of the open and went higher here.
CRIS is getting a mention that they're moving up on news. The only news I see is
which one? C?
CRIS. The only news I see is that they filed their Form 10K on Monday, December 23rd. I don't see anything after that. If there is anything that it's moving on, I would imagine that it has to be on relative volume. On the 31st, it was well above its normal volume. It wasn't a whole lot, but it was above the average. And now we're looks like we're about 3 times that comparatively to Tuesday. The volume isn't massive either. We're talking like 1.25 million shares. It's just a big change over the last trading day. I don't know how much this will go. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of eyes on this right now.
It looks like the next step here for CRIS is a build above the VWAP. We've tried to move above this VWAP and really haven't been able to make a whole lot of headway. If we can get and stay above that VWAP, maybe this thing does go here. Good morning, Robert. Happy New Year. Hopefully you had a great New Year there north of the border. What?
I said, hey, Robert.
Oh, okay. And I should be clear, north of the Illinois-Wisconsin border, which is what separates Robert and I. FFIE, this is kind of what I was talking about when I talk about building above the VWAP, just for kind of a visual indication. FFIE, look what it did. It pushed above the VWAP back here about, what was this, 10:08 in the morning? And then we traded above it. We even back tested it twice now, and we've stayed above it. So this action right here is the build, right? It's trading back and forth, and it's maintaining that above the VWAP. That actually sets up for a potential move through 3. Now, not a guarantee that that's what we're going to get, but I like seeing this action, especially on stocks that sell off, right? Series of higher lows, really, really good. Now we're staying above the VWAP. Awesome. That's what we want to see here. Hollow getting a mention here by Wisdom, and Wisdom. I don't think I've said Happy New Year to you yet officially. Happy New Year, Wisdom. Hopefully the nugs are dank for you this year. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I appreciate your support. We love having you here. Hollow looks like this is sitting right beneath 6, although it won't break down. I got something in my eye now. I'm seeing here Bitcoin was up 120% in 2024. Producer, are you still there? If you're still there, can we start a poll? Is Bitcoin going to be up more or less than 120? Let's actually do 100. Will Bitcoin be up more or less than 100% in 2025?
What do you think?
I think it's going to be up less than that. I mean, okay, let's just call the 2024 price 95K just for ease. Okay. The start of 2025 is at 90K. So to be up over 100%, you'd have to be 190K. Is my math right there? Yeah, it is 190K. I don't think we see a 200K test in 2025. I do think we see that eventually, but I'm not sure we see that in 2025. So I would vote under, but I would still be bullish. That's what I would say.
Let me take a look at something and I'll give you.
Okay. Yeah, no, we got the technician needs to consult the charts before giving a guess. There's no question about that.
Well, it's not so much that I want to look at the charts for a technical analysis. It's just that I want to see what happened the last time we had moves like this. That was like 2020 and 2021. And I think 2022 was a pretty bad year for. No, that was still 2021 where it came down and then it came right back.
Sorry to interrupt here. CTCX was hovering right at its VWAP and it is starting to curl. Now watch this volume. If this volume continues to expand, I do think you have a move to 1 and maybe even to 120 there. Keep that on watch. Oh, Staff Sergeant Ryan. Happy New Year, boss.
Hey,
hopefully you and your family are doing well here. Hopefully you had a great New Year's. Really appreciate all of your support in 2024, and we're looking forward to that in 2025. Maybe sometime this year, if I really want to push myself, I'll contact you and you can help straighten me out, get me on a proper ruck march and see how tough I actually am. Nice to have you here, Ryan. Happy New Year, and wishing you and your family a best in 2025.
Yeah. So if we do get above 100,000 again in Bitcoin, I could see 150 for I don't want to say for sure, but I'm pretty positive that's what it could do. If we're not going to get back above 100,000, like maybe in the first quarter or so, I could maybe see this coming into the 70s.
I'm sorry, which one?
On Bitcoin. I don't know what we're going to get out of it at this point so far, but just the way that the price action is set up, I could see us breaking out and going on a run to 150 if it goes over 100. But if it has a hard time recapturing 100, then I think that around the mid 70s is where it could end up going. All right. Hey, Happy New Year's, Austin. Let's have a good year, everybody. And that means we need to start have some of these names start behaving better.
Okay. Name the time, place. I will keep that in mind. I'll reach out to you on Twitter. Happy New Year, Austin. Great to see you back here as well. Jag saying, good morning, Ryan. What's your take on Apple? So my take on Apple is really the same that it's been. This is a stock that I'm really, really glad that I own. It's not one that I trade as much. However, when I do trade it, I try to trade it around my core position, meaning that I'm actually not looking to sell any of my long shares that I've been holding for a long term. I'd be buying and selling new shares and or buying or selling options in order to capture shorter term movement. I think this is the strongest company in the United States. Straight up, I think this is the strongest company in the United States. Some might say the world. I don't really think anything's changing here. Despite not using the phone, I use other products. I like it. I think it's been safer than some of the other high flyer tech names. I anticipate another good 2025 here for Apple. I love the fact that their ecosystem locks people in and they continue to refresh their devices at premium prices. So long term here, I like this. No short term positions as of right now.
Even as a shareholder, I have concerns. I have concerns over their supply chains. I have concerns over their innovation. I have concern about their market share, especially. And I know we talked about this in Happy Hour, especially if Tesla ends up coming out with a mobile device to use with Starlink. And now, I know we talked, last year we talked about how Starlink doesn't quite have the bandwidth set up with their satellites to cover some more of the older legacy phones. But just recently, they came out with a design, or I guess a plan, we could call it, that they are going to end up sending those kind of satellites into orbit. So that's going to be a big headwind for ASTS. And maybe even some other constellation satellite companies. But ASTS is the first one that comes to mind. So that's going to be something that I'm really keeping an eye on with Tesla and with SpaceX and Musk, to see if they're going to try to enter the mobile space, seeing as how his plan for Starlink is for complete global coverage.
The one thing I will say about all the stuff that 13 just said, I agree with him on the Tesla phone. I think that one thing that could actually take some significant market share would be a Starlink-based disconnected, phone. Or what I'm trying to say is a phone that can use Starlink as kind of a backup or for, guaranteed coverage. I'm with you on that. I think that could make some headways. I'm paying no attention to, like I said, until I start seeing something different with the handsets not being used or demand and this and that, until I actually see something affect the price of the stock, I'm not trying to trade on that. And I share your concerns about innovation. The one thing I will say about and I should say the lack of innovation, frankly, the one thing that I will say is that too has not yet produced a negative move here in Apple, but that is definitely something to kind of keep an eye on. I thought initially they didn't do a great job with the watch. That really kind of turned around. And then very much, you've covered this in great depth, 13. They really missed the mark with their AI or with their AR goggles thing. That entire thing was a missed opportunity. And I thought you did an excellent job covering that, way better than the talking heads on CNBC, by the way, which just unanimously said it was great to release a $3,500 goggle product that was really not worth it. So I'm with you on some of that, but just to kind of go, one of the things I said at the beginning of the show, some of these boats are so big, turning them around is tough and takes a long time.
Yeah, I feel like, I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that Apple just has not been keeping up with the innovation that brought them to prominence in the first place. Not that anything that they came up with was necessarily brand spanking new, but they were the first to do it.
Mhm.
Now they're not the first to do things anymore. We've had Meta with their Oculus headset, and we've had Ray-Ban with their AR glass, or their smart glasses. Apple doesn't have smart glasses yet, and they're not going to. They've already talked about how they might not have them until 2027. I think that's way behind. Way behind.
Yeah. Okay, good stuff there. So we got a question here on Tesla. First of all, Tesla is near the lows here, 377. That 373.40 low that we got out of the open there, that it bounced from. That looks like we're kind of rolling over to test that. We did have some question here about levels. Oak 84 is saying support for Tesla, please. So I'll go ahead and give some 13. I know you might have already given some here, but I'd love to get those again. Really quickly here, definitely a level at the 350, right? The 50-day moving average here is represented by 349.37. Let's call it 350. That's definitely a level. But additionally, I also think that I don't know if I'm going to use the correct term that you use here, 13, but this sure looks like a supply zone or some type of support area between 335 and 350, and 360. So I would almost say that this entire area in here between 335 and 360 represent some pretty good support. I would say 350 would be that pinpoint number that I'd be looking at here for a support level.
Yeah, I like 350 the most. So I think I was earlier saying somewhere between 350 and 360 might be where you see the bottom. And if it gets down there today, it wouldn't really surprise me, seeing as how much this has run. But if we do get down there today, I'd expect tomorrow to have a nice rebound.
There you go.
My expectation. Whether or not it happens is another thing, but that would be my expectation after such a fall.
And then the drawing that you see here on this chart, it's probably impossible to see the number. So it's worth mentioning here that the support level right here that we bounced off of on Friday, November 15th, this corresponded with a fib level of 311 on the dot. Okay, so 311 would be another support level there. Let me know if that's helpful. Good morning, Mike. Happy New Year.
And as far as Apple goes for downside targets, I mean, because we did lose the 20-day SMA today, and we're headed towards the 50. So if we do get support there, that means 238 is a level, and I also have 233 as another level. So there's a $5 range for you about where we could see a potential bottoming in Apple's downside price action, somewhere between 233 and 238 for me.
Okay, and I see this too here, real quick. First of all, I love that you guys have taken like a little quirk of mine and turned it into a joke. To me, that was one of my favorite things to do here, and let's keep doing that. BGLC, the next penny runner that Ryan needs to take a look at, it was tagging the other gentleman that was busting me about penny stocks. Daniel here said, I restrict myself to 1 penny a day. And who said that? I love, and Jacob said, I love that rule. So I like that rule too. I'll be happy to take a look at any of these stocks you folks want to take a look at. Like I said, if it's moving and you folks are trading it, I'm all about taking a look at it. Maybe in the new year here, we can look a little bit more into penny stocks. So the one that you were asking about, BGLC, BioNexus Gene Lab. Wow. Okay. So another impulse move higher. We built above that VWAP. That formed a bull flag. Then the volume poured in here. Now we've taken another leg up here. Looks like 70 is the level here. What does this company do, folks? Sale of chemical raw materials for the manufacture of industrial, medical, appliance, aero, automotive, mechanical, and electrical industries in the Southeast Asia region.
Okay.
Including Malaysia, Indonesia, and Vietnam.
That's interesting because there's a very big name that I did not see there on that list of countries. I bet you know which one it is.
I'm sorry. I was reading Mike's hilarious comment here. Can you give it to me again and I'll take a guess?
Well, when you were reading off those names, I said there's a very big name that's not on that list.
Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam. The big one is China, right?
Mm-hmm. This seems like a decoupling play.
Interesting.
That's the first. That's the first sense I get out of this. Supply. It's a sale of chemical raw materials, all of these applications, not coming from China. They're coming from other areas around China, and those are the countries that are getting that are eating China's lunch right now as this decoupling happens. Thank you for bringing this up. This is very interesting, and I think we should definitely look into this some more.
Go Steve D. I'm going to shout this out for sure. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Steve. I made $500 coming in second in fantasy this year, and I just dumped that into the market. Okay, so first of all, congratulations on coming in second in fantasy. I had a piss poor showing in fantasy football this year across the board. I'm actually really disappointed in myself, but that's another story that we won't get into. So good job, doing a really good job this year. The second part of what you said here about dumping gambling winnings into a trading account, I love everything about this. Literally everything about this. In fact, I've been telling you guys, I've been on an absolute heater with betting recently, and I bet very, very small, $10 bets, 15, maybe $20 bets. And I win 100, 150, 200 at a time. They're not very big, but I've hit so many recently that I've actually pulled out several $100s of profit from my betting account and put them into my checking account. Normally it goes the other way around, but this has actually been pretty good recently. So the fact that you took gambling earnings and put them into the market, I think that is the fiscally responsible move to do. I would encourage all of you to move your gambling profits into an investment form in some way. I think that's really, really smart. Steve, I hope you double, triple, or quadruple that this year. Okay.
Well, we're getting pretty close to the end of, how's coal and lithium? That's a good question. Let's take a look. Do you have the coal names to bring up?
What are those? What are the coal names?
I think I have a watch list. Let me see.
Yeah, I do. I'm trying not to go to it. I'm trying to remember the one. BTU. That's the big one here. That's the big one that we traded a lot on this show here. BTU, big coal name. So this is interesting. This is actually at kind of like a low here.
My coal watch list has only got one red name. Everything else is green. Not big green, but everything else is green. Like AMR, ARCH, ARLP,
ARCH, yeah.
BTU, like you said, CEIX, HCC, HRN, HNRG, METC, and TRMD are all green. All right, Robinhood allowed sport. If Robinhood allowed sports betting, look, I think that's an eventuality. I feel like that's going to happen. And there's been a lot of discussion that we've had in our happy hour about there potentially being the ability to trade player valuations, which would be insane. Just a whole new market of a whole new way of just winning and losing money. Oh, he got
I'm sorry.
injured.
Did you say new way to win money? That's all I heard.
Yeah, we were talking. I was just discussing the potential eventuality of players' valuations being able to be traded. Like in a football player.
No, I'm with you. I was just joking. I actually did hear what you say. And I look, as someone that likes sports and gambling and stocks and all that, I would try it. I would at least give it the good old college effort. Sarah Sassy saying, thank you for BGLC here. As much as I want to take credit and feel real good about the first day here, someone else brought this up. It was someone else in the chat that brought this up. And, because it's a penny stock, I obviously wasn't going to. So thank them. Really, really good stuff here. We did take that other leg up here. I will say if this hangs on to 70 cents, you actually might be setting up for another run at those highs there. No position for me, though, not trading this one. But that's something to keep an eye on here. Whoever mentioned this earlier, shout out to you. Was this Jacob? Good stuff, Jacob, if that was you.
This is
good stuff anyway, even if it wasn't you, but you got what I mean.
That's the one that we were just talking about that could be the supply chain, the decoupling play.
Yes, it was Jacob. Yeah. Cheers to you, Jacob. We're going to have a great 2025.
I wrote that down. That's something I'm going to bring up in happy hour to some of the folks there, because we look for stuff like this.
Yep. And remember that next happy hour will be January 6th. We will be starting the full happy hour schedule again on Monday. I know it doesn't look like it to you folks, but I'm actually on PTO right now. So I love the show too much. There's no way I was going to start a year without having a show. And when I asked 13 about it, he's like, hell yeah, I'll be ready. So that to me, that this is how we're going to start our day no matter what.
Yeah, it hasn't been the greatest of mornings for trading. There's a lot of things just not working out. Some have, but a lot of things haven't. A lot of things just really weak. Apple's one of them. Jeez. Now it looks like it's getting some support at 245. Let's see how long that lasts, because that is a little bit of a support area. Ever since the price popped up above that on December 9th, it's been holding up above 245 all throughout the rest of the year, and now we're coming down to test it. So, we lose that level. Looks like we're going at, I'd say to the 50-day SMA for sure.
Yeah, Tom, McDonald's is making a push here. I mean, honestly, I think at this point, the premium is just evaporated on that. That trade was no good. So I apologize to you personally. I know you kind of followed me into that one. It was a bummer. I definitely thought we'd get a little bit of a McRib bump there, but just goes to show you maybe you shouldn't rely on McDonald's both for eating and for trading. We'll see though. I mean, I tell you what, if we get a really good piece of news, it drives this thing up $10. We're going to be out, we're not going to be completely out of it at that point, but poor timing on my part. I'll try and tighten that up here for 2025.
Linus, I don't know if I have Chesapeake in my list for, no, I don't, for natural gas, but I don't disagree about Chesapeake Energy being a great gas company, but I still think that there's some other plays that we want to take a look at, especially ones that have the tankers. Here's some of those.
Well, that's right. You already prepared this good stuff.
Yeah, there's some of those, and then let me give you a couple of tickers, because these are really weird to type in sometimes, and it doesn't always work out. So here's how they are typed out, and maybe you can plug them in yourself and get it to work. But that's another tanker company. Different types of shares. Do some looking into, folks. I think we're going to see some really big things happen with natural gas this year, especially since that agreement between Ukraine and Russia for Gazprom natural gas has fallen through and not being renewed.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to have some trades on that. Okay, and then real quick, just another quick check-in here regarding one of the lessons that we talked about earlier. We talked about that 260 level falling, and why is that bullish? Look when we took out a huge seller that was repressing the price, look what the price has continued to do since then on ONDS here. ONDS is just the example. The reality is that this type of effect we will see a lot on a bunch of different stocks. When you take out a huge seller, that stock is uncapped, and we can actually go higher here. So we'll see. All right. Well, how much time do we have left here? God, we are over. We're over by 30 seconds. Folks, this was an amazing start to the year. First day of the 2025 13. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling pretty optimistic about 2025. Any closing words for our group?
Well, I don't want to sound like Powell, but I am being cautiously optimistic at this point. I want to see some things happen first to get a little bit more confidence. But yes, we're going to be very proactive about how we view things and make sure we protect ourselves. Let's have a great start of the year, folks. It's 2025 now. Lots of things can happen. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll find some more things to trade. Hopefully it'll be better than today.
Yeah, we will definitely be back at it. 13 is going to be data dependent. How about that? Did you have that on your bingo card? All right, 13. Take care of yourself, folks. Take care. Have a good one. We will be back at this again tomorrow. Benzinga's pre-market playbook will return. Have a great rest of your day. Stay green.